Chapter 581. You can search Poisonous Wife in Baidu. You can search for the latest chapter. Sister Shuedong, don't talk. You'll be fine. Fong Mu grabbed a handful of healing medicine from the universe ring and stuffed it into Yin Shuedong's mouth. Yin Shuedong turned her head and said weakly, "It's useless. The puppet matrix is getting stronger and stronger. You can't escape with me. Let's go while my tactical matrix is still effective." "I don't want to." Fong Mu's face collapsed, and he blamed himself desperately. Why? Why did you betray us and agree to cover up the fact of reincarnation mirror at the conference of holy sex? If it weren't for that today, I wouldn't have hurt you. Xianyuer struggled to resist the puppet army. White light surged on her body. Puppets constantly turned into dead things and were torn into pieces by the latecomers. Hearing the conversation between Fong Mu and Yin Shuedong, Xianyuer's heart was slightly stirred. It seems that the Holy Son and Holy Girl of the Peak Holy Sex are not as ruthless as Master said. Instead, they seem to be very sad. Thinking of this, a red light suddenly flashed in front of Xianyuer, and the special bloody puppet appeared again. Xianyuer's pretty face changed instantly, and she said seriously, "Fong Mu, hold Yin Shuedong and retreat." Fong Mu suddenly raised his head and held Yin Shuedong tightly to retreat without saying a word. The bloody puppet would not wait for them to get away. It raised the crescent knife in its right hand high and smashed it on Xianyuer's ice blue flying sword at extremely fast speed. Clang! The heavy and violent force instantly poured in and dyed the ice blue flying sword blood red. Xianyuer's eyes widened, and she trembled and stepped back a few steps. She barely blocked the blow. Before she had time to continue her strength, the tidal force suddenly surged again. Crack! Xianyuer groaned miserably. Her arms were all broken. She was blasted out with her sword like a cannonball. She smashed many puppets along the way, but her speed did not decrease. She hit Fong Mu directly. The three of them rolled together and didn't stop until they were far away. The puppet army slowly surrounded them again. 10-square matrix. Fong Mu's face was covered with blood. He raised his head and shouted. The long stick full of cracks on his back flew out again. It directly collapsed and turned into 10 stick shadows, protecting the three of them. "I told you not to leave." Yin Shuedong gasped for breath and struggled to get up. There was a centipede-like scar on her back that ran from her shoulder to her spine. Seeing this, Xianyuer, who had her arms drooping, felt a chill in her heart. Now, there's only one way. Yin Shuedong grabbed the blood-stained white array disc and stared at the approaching blood-red puppet. "I'll stall it. You guys quickly get out of the entrance and go back to the upper floor and choose the right one. Only then can you survive." Entrance. At this time, Fong Mu calmed down and said, "Sister Shuedong, look, where's the entrance?" Yin Shuedong's face slightly changed. She looked back and saw only bare walls. The original door had long disappeared. She was stunned for a moment, and then she laughed softly. He. Has the immortal ascension mountain become our grave? At this time, you should be able to tell me why you chose to stand on the other side back then, right? I Fong Shuedong Fong. Can, Sister Shuedong. Do you want me to die with everlasting regret? Fong Mu wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, "Tell me the reason." Xianyuer quietly watched the two of them from the side, and she heard a cracking sound in her ears. The big matrix of rotating stick shadows had more and more cracks. Yin Shuedong's eyes lit up. She looked at Fong Mu's serious eyes and softened. She sighed. Huangxing Hall is not what it used to be. Sure enough, there is a secret. Fong Mu smiled and breathed a long sigh of relief. Don't you continue to ask? Yin Shuedong was a little surprised. Fong Mu laughed and said, "It's enough to know that you have no choice. Unfortunately, I can't convey the news to my eldest brother." He sighed slightly and turned to look at Xianyu. "I'm sorry, Miss Xian. I'm sorry that you have to suffer with us." "It doesn't matter." Xianyuer's eyes were still bright, and her tone was innocent and pure. "My master said that there is always a way out. Although this trip is dangerous, I will meet a great benefactor in chance. My master will not be wrong. Inchuedong was speechless. She didn't expect that Xianyuer would be such a simple person. You can only listen to the deduction. Even if your master is the master of the benevolent cloud house, he may not be able to predict everything. My master is not from the benevolent cloud house, Xianyuer suddenly said, which made Fong Mu and Yin Shuedong stunned. Not from the benevolent cloud house, but you are clearly the holy girl of the benevolent cloud house. This Xianyuer was about to answer, but her eyes suddenly brightened. She pointed to the back of Fong Mu and Yin Shuedong. What is that? Yin Shuedong looked back and suddenly widened her eyes. A door suddenly appeared on the wall not far from them, and it was slowly opening. Someone is coming. Fong Mu was overjoyed, but then he looked gloomy when he saw the cracks on the matrix. He said, "The speed of opening the portal is extremely slow. We waited for a long time, but it was too late." Xianyuer stared at the portal. The great danger that the master said still came true. Would the great benefactor and chance be something outside the portal? If you have a hunch, don't hesitate. She seemed to hear the old voice of the master again. Decisiveness flashed in her eyes. She immediately pulled off the starfall on her neck and smashed it. Buzz! A crystal-clear teardrop slowly rose from the broken starfall and integrated into the tactical matrix. In the blink of an eye, the matrix was completely repaired and only 20% of the teardrop was consumed. This is the consumable treasure, the tear of the star. Inchuedong was surprised and delighted. It's enough to hold on until the portal opens. Xianyuer looked lost and touched her empty neck. She had worn the tear of the star on her neck since she was a child. Her master said that it was the only protection left by her mother. The golden mark outlined by the portal was getting brighter and brighter. It seemed that the puppet army was stimulated and attacked more crazily. However, with the support of the tear of the star, the matrix could still hold on. At this moment, swish, a bloody shadow suddenly appeared, holding a bow instead of a guandao in his hand. Fong Mu's expression suddenly changed. It's the bloody puppet. The weapon is different. Is it? He turned around abruptly and saw that another blood-colored puppet was still standing outside the hexagon formation, slashing at the formation shield fiercely. Boom! Under the huge recoil of the force, the echo exploded in everyone's ears like thunder. Fortunately, the matrix was not damaged and still operated normally with the support of the tear of the star. The puppet with the bloody longbow tilted its head and seemed to glance at the puppet with the bloody guandao. Its expression was clearly laughing at it silently. Fong Mu and the other two were suddenly shocked. Did these bloody puppets have their own consciousness? The puppet with the bloody guandao seemed to be irritated. It held the guandao with both hands, and the bloody light in its eyes became more intense. The next moment, boom, 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 boom. The continuous loud noise almost made the three people's scalps numb. Xianyuer was horrified to find that the tear of the star was shrinking at a speed visible to the naked eye. But when she looked back, she found that the portal had only opened a little. Fong Mu's pupils suddenly shrank. Too late. No. Yin Shuedong's heart tightened. If they could escape, Huan die early. Xianyuer was also anxious. She held the broken starfall tightly in her hands and stared at the slowly opening portal. Every breath was extremely difficult. However, it was not over yet. Seeing that the puppet with the guandao didn't succeed after a long time, the longbow puppet unexpectedly raised the longbow in its hand, and a bloody light quickly condensed in the center of the longbow. Then it loosened its grip, and the bloody light suddenly shot out. Ding! There was a slight crisp sound. It was much quieter than the bombardment of the guandao, but Fong Mu and the other two looked even more terrible. The point hit by the bloody light was cracking rapidly. Compared with the scattered power of the guandao, the condensed power of this arrow was more destructive. He pulled the bow again. It's too late. Xianyuer gritted her teeth and said. She held the starfall tightly in her hands, and her voice trembled. The three people stared at the longbow puppet and slowly pulled the bow. The bloody light condensed as if it was counting down to death. If the matrix collapsed, they would be drowned by the endless puppet army in an instant. The bloody light became more and more full. The longbow puppet showed a sarcastic expression and loosened its fingers without hesitation. Boom! The dazzling white light suddenly came. The three people closed their eyes at the same time. The sound of the tactical matrix breaking rang in their ears, and their hearts sank. The 10-direction formation was broken in the end. After a long time, Fong Mu came to his senses from unconsciousness, and a conversation came slowly from afar. Fellow practitioner Su, you forcibly broke the gate like this. What if you anger the spirit of the secret realm? The opening of the gate is too slow. Only fools will keep waiting. Besides, if I let you do it, do you think you can forcefully break open the door? Ahem. Fellow practitioner Su, your words are really more and more hurtful. Huh? It seems that I accidentally hurt others. When Fong Mu heard this, he finally completely sobered up. He looked up and saw two figures walking in slowly. He knew one of them was Ban Xian from the holy sect of Wind Thunder. It was said that his combat power was ordinary. How could he appear in the trial of the left pole? And the other one was a strange, beautiful young woman? There was a lotus mark at the corner of her eyes, but he had no impression. It turns out to be Fong Mu and Yin Xuedo. Is this Xian Yuer from the Xian house? Su Li approached and saw the miserable faces of the three people. When Ban Xian heard that they were from the holy sects, he immediately shivered. The two people seemed to be in a bad state. Would fellow practitioner Su beat them violently? Huh, there are some interesting things in these puppets. Su Li looked calm and quickly looked away. She glanced at the broken bloody puppets still struggling on the ground. She chuckled and disappeared, leaving only a sentence in Ban Xian's ears. Take care of them. Don't let them run away. Ban Xian nodded and smiled bitterly. He had been following Su Li for so long. Why did he feel that the second half of this sentence was the key point? Xian Yuer and Yin Xuedong also came to their senses at this time. They looked back at the same time with Fong Mu. The three people were all stunned again. They felt cold as if they had been poured with cold water. The latest chapter of The Poisonous Wife, the full text of The Poisonous Wife, the download of The Poisonous Wife, The Poisonous Wife. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click collect below to record this time. Chapter 581. Next time you open the bookshelf, you can see it. If you like The Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 582. You can search for Poisonous Wife in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. In a vast trial space, Fong Mu looked around and saw gray puppet fragments everywhere. In this rectangular area, except for the bloody puppet's limbs that were still struggling, he couldn't see any puppet that was still active. Thinking of the conversation he just heard, Fong Mu quickly imagined the scene. It's the female practitioner who dislikes opening the portal too slowly. So, the remaining power of her punch is like this. Even the bloody puppet was not spared. If it weren't for the hexagon matrix to resist that wave of power, I'm afraid. Thinking of this, Fong Mu suddenly shuddered. Ban Xian picked up the fragments of the hexagon matrix on the ground and was surprised. The breath of the tear of star. You even used such a treasure? It seems to be a waste that you haven't reached the top. Fong Mu smiled bitterly and shook his head. If it weren't for this, we would have been killed by those bloody puppets. Ban Xian gave a hollow laugh, and his scalp was a little numb. The three holy sons and holy virgins joined hands, and two of them were from the holy sects, but they were forced to this point. But they had an easy way. Su Jiuzhou's moves gave him the feeling that she was too casual. She often finished with one move, so that he couldn't recognize the difficulty of the trial he was in now. What is the limit of Su Jiuzhou's strength? Ban Xian was thoughtful and pinched the fragment in his hand. Suddenly, he found something and was slightly shocked. Although he didn't understand the tactical matrix, the remaining breath of this tactical matrix was definitely not stronger than the physical body of the bloody puppet. Even the bloody puppet was broken, but these people were still alive. Ban Qian frowned slightly. Su Jiuzhou knew that there were people trapped inside, so she showed mercy. Thinking of this, Ban Qian restrained his thoughts and didn't dare to think about it anymore. He calmly put down the fragment in his hand, looked up and smiled. I specialize in wood and am proficient in healing. Holy Girl Yin and Holy Girl Xian are seriously injured. Let me have a look. Thank you, Holy Son Ban Qian. Feng Mu stepped aside and let Ban Qian treat them. After standing up, he found that there were circles of black lines on the ground around them, which were complicated and treacherous. At first glance, he knew it was a very high-grade tactical matrix. No wonder the surrounding puppets couldn't get close. That person doesn't have a good impression of the Pinnacle Holy Sect. You better stay here obediently and don't go out, lest you get accidentally injured. Ban Qian couldn't help but remind him. Feng Mu quickly took back a step and smiled gratefully at Ban Qian. It was better to treat a woman who could instantly kill them with a single punch. Su Li rushed into the army of puppets, and the body of Evil Ghost was integrated in an instant. Her black pupils were deeper, as if they could absorb the soul. In the state of Evil Ghost, what appeared in his eyes was no longer a stiff puppet, but a mass of ghost fire. The ghost fire was mostly light blue, occasionally dark blue, and the blood puppet was dark red. The method of refining corpse puppets, but the method you see in front of you is much more brilliant than the so-called corpse refining sex in Qin Shui's circle. Black Lotus said, "There's a chance that a blood-colored puppet with intelligence will be born with this method. However, it'll only have intelligence. It'll take a long time for it to recover its memories and become a member of the Ghost Clan." Su Li was slightly stunned and asked, "The puppet refined by the practitioner of the human clan has a chance to become a member of the Ghost Clan? Only the blood-colored puppet has a chance. Don't think about the others. Intelligence is the prerequisite for transformation." Black Lotus pursed his lips. "You can pick out the red ghost fire and take it back to the back mountain of the Immortal Cultivation Sect. Maybe it can transform faster." Okay. Su Li nodded and released Hong Baizhu from Song Lei's cave. The little girl returned to her original body. 2 lines of blood tears flowed down and instantly flowed into the ground. All the qualified ghost fire of the puppets were rolled back. After doing this, she did not forget to salute Su Li and then returned to Song Lei's cave. Tut, this little girl is becoming more and more sensible. Su Li smiled. She knew very well what this little girl was thinking. She was just jealous of Su Bai. She didn't even have a decent subordinate, and Su Bai had Chu Qingning to discipline. They have been fighting for a woman's favor. They are too idle. After this battle, I have to arrange some errands for both of them. Black Lotus also saw this and said in an old-fashioned manner, "Then I'll leave this matter to you." Su Li said lightly, and Black Lotus's old face suddenly showed bitterness. He was too talkative again. Those blood-colored puppets have good combat power. They are at the late stage of nature's test. Let me see the reward of this test. Su Li pondered, stretched out her palm, spread her 5 fingers slightly, pressed down, and said softly, "Destroy." There was a loud bang. Thousands of stone puppets collapsed in an instant, annihilated into gray-white stone powder, and submerged Su Li's figure. The ghost fire in the puppets lost its reliance and was about to return to the trial nothingness. However, the evil ghost behind Su Li suddenly opened its huge mouth and sucked fiercely. All the ghost fire was sucked up. Su Li released the integration of the evil ghost with satisfaction. Her eyes regained light, and she showed a satisfied smile. Very pure ghost essence. Even if there is no reward for this test, I will accept it. In the distance, Feng Mu and others saw this world-destroying scene. They were all suffocated, and their hands and feet were cold. What kind of cultivation can do this? It is quite difficult for us to kill a puppet. There was light in Xian Yu-er's eyes, and there was a trace of worship in her eyes when she looked at Su Li. Great opportunity, great benefactor. Was the master talking about her? Su Jiuzhou's combat power is much more terrifying than that of the Battle of Immortals. Feng Mu looked dignified, and his eyes were full of divine light. If she fights against Ling Li, maybe she can win. After this idea suddenly emerged in his mind, It was like a branch sticking out its head, and he could no longer press it down. How can I let Su Jiuzhou fight against him? Feng Mu frowned and gradually lost his mind. Yin Xuedong looked at Su Li's back submerged in the white powder, but suddenly thought of a person. She looked up at Ban Xian and tried to make her tone as casual as possible. Holy boy Ban, you just said that fellow practitioner Su is very hostile to the holy sections. What is her attitude towards Han's sect? Ban Xian was not stupid, and he instantly saw through Yin Xuedong's mind. He replied with a smile, I also met fellow practitioner Su in the Shengxian mountain, and I don't know her very well. Holy Gerline, you asked the wrong person. Yin Xuedong was disappointed, but she was still unwilling to give up. She continued to ask, then how did Ban Qian know that she is hostile to the holy sects? Ban Qian smiled meaningfully. Maybe Holy Gerline will know after a while. Yin Xuedong frowned and didn't ask more sensibly. But at this moment, a gust of wind blew. Ban Xian turned his head and saw that all the stone powder suddenly condensed in the same direction until it condensed into stone balls and was thrown aside. After doing this, Su Li took back her sleeves and stepped to the front of everyone. She said calmly, Yin Xuedong, how is your injury? This tone was like an order which made people very uncomfortable. Yin Xuedong frowned and was about to answer, but she caught a glimpse of Su Li's cold and fierce eyes with a faint light of enchantment, which instantly shook her mind and made her unable to speak. Holy boy Ban, how is Yin Xuedong's injury? Seeing this scene, Ban Qian knew that Su Li deliberately embarrassed Yin Xuedong, but he didn't expose her. He pondered for a moment and replied, Fellow practitioner Su, the wound on Holy Girl Yin's back is not serious. Her internal organs are injured, and it is easy to treat. However, she seems to have used some secret methods and suffered a backfire. Her heart and vessels are damaged, and she needs to recuperate quietly. Su Li was proficient in medical skills, so she naturally knew that Ban Qian didn't lie at a glance. Now, she just needed someone to tell her injury. Recuperate quietly. Su Li turned her eyes and fell on Feng Mu, which made Feng Mu's scalp tense. What about him? Ban Qian laughed. Holy boy Feng Mu is just exhausted, and the other injuries are not serious. As for Holy Girl Xian, the bones of her arms are broken, and she also needs to recuperate and recover. She can't fight again in a short time. Su Li nodded gently. After a moment of silence, she suddenly said in a cold voice, Are you willing to go my cave to recuperate? Although it was a question, her tone was overbearing and irrefutable. Yin Xuedong said helplessly, Do we have a choice? Su Li checked Xian Yuer's arm and said in a casual tone, Of course. You can either go in by yourself or be caught by me. You can choose now. Yin Xuedong felt aggrieved. As a holy girl, her pride made her unable to bow her head quickly. Feng Mu shrugged indifferently. He didn't like to fight. If his eldest brother hadn't disappeared, he wouldn't have come here. If he was caught by Su Jiuzhou, his life wouldn't be in danger, and he could watch Sister Xuetong recuperate. It couldn't be better. As for the ranking of the Tianjiao battle, he would talk about it when he returned to the sect. Can I go in too? Xian Yuer's face was slightly red, and her tone was a little flattered. Su Li looked at her strangely. If you don't want to go in, it's okay. I have no grievances with Xian House. Oh, no. Xian Yuer waved her hand repeatedly and hurriedly explained, I want to go in. Fellow practitioner Su, my hands are broken, and I need a place to recuperate. Su Li stared at Xian Yuer, and her eyes became more and more strange. She stared at Xian Yuer until Xian Yuer blushed, and then she said, It's up to you. Xian Yu immediately breathed a sigh of relief. She almost lost the great benefactor mentioned by the master. Hey, she couldn't talk nonsense anymore. Ban Qian scratched his head and was confused. Was there something wrong with the holy girl of Xiyun House in her head? In the cave, unless one's strength was much stronger than the owner of the cave, he could only be at the mercy of others. It was really strange that someone wanted to enter other caves. Next, Su Li opened Song Lei's cave. Xian Yuer couldn't wait to go in. and then Fong Mu slowly helped In Shuedong into it. Seeing this, Su Li didn't close the door of the cave. She turned her head and asked, Ban Qian, I want to go to a place to investigate. You may not be able to go in. Do you want to go forward alone, or... Ban Qian understood as soon as he heard it. The trust built along the way made him make a choice immediately. Fellow practitioner Su, you can go ahead. I'm also tired. Do you mind being a guest in your cave? Su Li showed a gentle smile. It was convenient to talk with smart people. The latest chapter of The Poisonous Wife: The Poisonous Wife. Read the full text. The Poisonous Wife download. The Poisonous Wife read on the mobile phone. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click Collect below to record this time. Chapter 582. You can see it next time you open the bookshelf. If you like The Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 583. You can search Poisonous Wife in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. Wow. The whirlpool at the door of the cave disappeared, and Song Lei's cave lost the light from the outside world and became dark. Ban Qian and others looked at each other and looked at the seemingly old hall in the distance. They didn't walk around randomly. No one knew what tactical matrix was set up in Su Jiuzhou's cave. If they accidentally walked in the wrong way and died inside, it would be really bad luck. Listen, Fong Mu said helplessly. Do we have to stand at the door all the time without Su Jiuzhou's guidance? Ban Qian was looking at the structure of the cave. The more he looked at it, the more surprised he was. Are you all new here? But at this moment, Hong Baizhu floated from a distance. At this moment, she put away the bloody tears, which made her look petite and cute. Xian Yuer's heart melted when she saw her. What a lovely little girl. As she said, she stepped forward to touch Hong Baizhu's head. Ban Qian came to his senses and was shocked when he saw this. He quickly pulled back Xian Yuer, who was rash, and explained to Hong Baizhu the origin of everyone. I know you. You have been with my sister recently. I believe you. Come with me. Hearing this, Hong Baizhu nodded and hopped away. Everyone quickly followed her. Brother Ban, why don't you let me touch her? She doesn't look fierce. Xian Yuer couldn't help but ask in a low voice. Ban Qian smiled bitterly and transmitted the sound. There were several difficulties caused by ghosts, and they were all solved by this little girl. Ghosts can only be killed by the same kind. Do you still dare to touch her? After following Su Li for a long time, he also had some speculations about Hong Baizhu's origin. Xian Yuer immediately broke into a cold sweat. Ban Qian, you said bad things about me. I will tell my sister. Hong Baizhu suddenly stopped, turned around, and said with an angry face. Ban Qian was suddenly embarrassed and could only give a hollow laugh. Is there any other way to choose? Hong Baizhu looked unhappy and pouted. Then you can go to Bigwood. I don't want to take you to my territory. What is Bigwood? Don't ask so many questions. Follow me. When Ban Qian heard this, he could only follow. He didn't dare to walk around recklessly, so he could only take a detour. After traveling for a short while, they saw a towering tree in the distance. Tens of thousands of branches extended outwards, as if reaching deep into the void. The body of the tree was wrapped in divine radiance, and tens of thousands of divine splendors descended. The instant Ban Qian saw the towering tree, he felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His face was filled with shock and disbelief. Wood Ancestor Thunder Tree, how is this possible? In a place like this, the Wind Thunder Holy Sect only had two old ancestral thunders, which were not as vigorous as the one in front of them. In Shuedong and the others also recognized the origin of the tree, and they could not help but ask, Holy Sun Ban, are you sure this is not the sacred land of your Wind Thunder Sacred Sect? Ban Qian was a little stupefied. Right at this moment, a handsome young man in white with a perfect face walked over barefoot. His entire body was emitting the aura of the wood element divine thunder. Hong Baizhu immediately stepped back and said with a look of disgust, Blockhead, this Ban Qian is yours. I'll take the rest with me. Su Bai glanced at the crowd and said, Sister, let these people in so that they can recuperate. If they go to your place, their injuries will only worsen. That's not what Sister wants. When Hong Baiju heard this, her eyes suddenly turned red. Blockhead, bad blockhead. I can't outtalk you. You only know how to bully me. I don't care about you anymore. Woo. As she spoke, 2 lines of shocking blood tears flowed down her little face. She ran all the way away, leaving the crowd with a dull face. Su Bai sighed. After following Su Li for many years, his mind had matured a lot, but Hong Baiju was still so childish. Well, as your elder brother, I'll give in to you. Thinking of this, Su Bai nodded to the crowd. You guys come with me. Fong Mu swallowed his saliva. He held Yin Xuedong with one hand and Ban Xian, who had been completely petrified, with the other. Su Bai approached his body. What's wrong with Ban Xian? Xian Yu leaned close to Yin Xuedong and asked cautiously and curiously. Yin Xuedong showed a complicated smile. Maybe he saw the spirit of the ancestral thunder that can't be seen in the Wind Thunder Holy Sect, so he was absent-minded. Is that young man in white the spirit of the ancestral thunder? Xian Yu blinked in surprise and was very happy in her heart. It was absolutely right. Su Jiuzhou was a great benefactor, and the master's death tribulation could be saved. Not long after, everyone followed Su Bai to the tree. Su Bai sat down cross-legged against the root of the tree and pointed to the surroundings. You can stay here to meditate and heal. I think you'll get twice the result with half the effort. When some of your injuries are healed, go to little Hong Bai's territory and chat with her. As he spoke, he looked at Ban Xian. You just had a conflict with little Hong Bai, so stay here. It happens that your body has the same aura as mine, although it's not pure. Stay here and practice. Really, really? Ban Xian was so excited that he stuttered, but in a blink of an eye, he hesitated and said, But will this affect you? Your body can't get much innate thunder even in the outside world, let alone taking root in someone's cave. Don't worry. Su Bai smiled slightly and looked back at his huge body. When I first moved here, I was only half the size I am now. With you here, I don't have to worry. In addition to the thunder punishment, can the human race also trigger innate thunder? Ban Xian had 10,000 doubts in his heart, but at this moment, he was completely at a loss. Thank you for giving me a place to heal. Yin Xuedong bowed her head. You're a thunder spirit. Why are you willing to serve a human as your master? Also, there's that little ghost. Thunder spirits and ghosts have always been natural enemies. Why are you still? Su Bai's eyes instantly turned cold, and his divine brilliance shone brightly. My existence is more noble than anything else, and I won't allow you to slander me. After healing, go to little Hong Bai. I won't keep you here. Yin Xuedong's heart trembled, and she quickly lowered her head. Sorry, the innate thunder spirit was in existence on the same level as the reincarnation mirror. If it was angry, she would not be able to withstand it. There's also little Hong Bai. Even if our attributes are repulsive, I'm still your sister. I naturally have to get along well with her and treat her like a younger sister. Little Hong Bai is pure by nature. If I find out that you're bullying her, I won't spare you either. Su Bai said coldly, flicked his sleeves, and disappeared in a green light. The power dissipated, and Yin Xuedong breathed a sigh of relief. Her back was wet unconsciously, and her eyes were filled with fear. Su Jiuzhou, whether she's the person I guessed or not, the degree of danger is comparable to that of any junior emperor. We didn't even know about it before. Hey, look, what's this? A voice came from not far away. Everyone looked up and saw that Xian Yu had walked to a ball-shaped vine. The leaves wrapped by the vine immediately bloomed like petals, revealing a figure curled up inside. This is Chu Qingning. Xian Yu stepped back in surprise. Why is he here? Fong Mu held Yin Xuedong to take a closer look. Sure enough, they saw the familiar face. For a moment, both of them had mixed feelings in their hearts. Sister Xuedong has something difficult to say. Where's Brother Chu? Such thoughts flashed through Fong Mu's mind, but Yin Xuedong's eyes were more complicated. She was silent for a moment, and then she looked up and asked, Holy Sun Ban, was Chu Qingning also forced to come in by Su Jiuzhou like us? Ban Xian gave a hollow laugh. He is much worse than you. As soon as Holy Sun Chu appeared, he wanted to rush over and kill people. He was seriously injured by fellow practitioner Su, so he was caught. Now his injury is almost healed. The Wood Thunder Ancestor Tree is really powerful. Feng Mu and Yin Xuedong were speechless for a while. Since Holy Sun Chu practiced the holy method in the reincarnation mirror, his temperament is indeed more arrogant than before, and he is too murderous. Fellow Taoist Su is an iron plate, so it's reasonable that he was beaten. Xian Yu was said a fair sentence in a neither servile nor overbearing manner. Then she retreated to the side and meditated to heal. The ancestor tree immediately dropped a branch and shrouded her for protection. Green divine light poured in, and Xian Yu's pale face gradually became ruddy. Seeing that Chu Qingning did not wake up for a long time, Yin Xuedong sighed and sat down against the vine. During this time, Feng Mu breathed the healing divine light of the divine thunder of wood, and his skin injuries were almost healed. He did not dare to violate what Su Bai had said before. After saying goodbye to Yin Xuedong, he went to Hong Baizhu according to the guidance left by Su Bai. Ban Xian sat aside awkwardly and thought to himself. In this way, 3 of the holy sons and holy virgins of the 4 holy sect have been caught by fellow practitioner Su. He was a little frightened at once. Fellow practitioner Su, what does she want to do? Jiang Run hung upside down on the beam and looked at the dense memorial tablets in the center of the ancestral hall in boredom. It had only been 3 days since he ascended Spirit Mountain, and now half of it had passed. He had given up the idea of going out. It seemed that the spirit of the secret realm was determined to let him stay here for 2,000 years. Fortunately, there was no shortage of nimbus here, and the nimbus was quite rich. He would not die anyway. At worst, he could practice here for 2,000 years before going out. Forget it. Jiang Run jumped down from the beam, sighed, sat down cross-legged, and gradually meditated. He closed his eyes, but he did not find that the memorial tablets suddenly shook gently. At the same time, after Suli put away Song Lei's cave, she thought of something, and the evil ghost appeared behind her and merged in her body in the blink of an eye. In an instant, Suli's pure eyes were as dark and deep as the night sky, and her 10 fingernails were also dyed black with ghost energy lingering around them. She waved her sleeves, and the exposed mountain wall seemed to be corroded by something. It melted into powder and drifted away, and a narrow mountain tunnel appeared in front of her. You are not afraid of Spirit Mountain, but you have to go into the cave. What did you find? Black Lotus showed up helplessly. Suli looked calm and slowly stepped into the tunnel. She said softly, in the state of evil ghost, I can hear the sound coming from the mountain, so I'm a little concerned. Then go and come back quickly. Although you have caught the 3 people, there's still one outside. If he takes the first place of the talents, it will be bad. It doesn't matter. I know what I'm doing. Suli touched her right arm, which faintly emitted the power of summoning. Her eyes were cold, and she disappeared instantly with a wave of her sleeves. The latest chapter of The Poisonous Wife, the full text of The Poisonous Wife, the download of The Poisonous Wife. The Poisonous Wife was reading on her mobile phone. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click Collect below to record this time, Chapter 583. You can see it next time when you open the bookshelf. If you like The Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 584. You can search for Poisonous Wife in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. In the dim, underground, karst cave, endless water flowed out of the cracks in the stone, converged into a river, and flowed to the unknown depths. Pop! After the extremely faint sound, a round outline of a tall and small person gradually appeared on the stone wall. Then, a large amount of stone powder fell down and floated into the river, then disappeared into the distance. A cold and lonely phantom of the ghost domain appeared. This ghost phantom was none other than Su Li. There is indeed a different world in the mountain. In the darkness, Su Li's sight was still clear. She closed her eyes and listened for a while. Then she strode along the river flow and flashed quickly. But after a while, over the dim river, there was gradually a little cold ghost fire floating from the river, dotted around Suli. Very fresh ghost fire. Black Lotus sniffed and transmitted the sound. It smells that they have been dead for about 4 or 5 days. They are probably those unlucky guys who died in the Immortals battle. Tut, tut, tut. Suli's expression didn't change. She didn't speak and continued to move forward. The further she went, the higher the density of ghost fire. At last, the car's cave passage was as bright as day, like hell on earth. At the end of hell, there was no ghost fire floating, and her sight was also impenetrable. It was pitch black. It seems that I found the right place. Suli frowned slightly, and the noise in her ears was almost maximized. It seemed that there were hundreds of people on her shoulders at the same time, whispering in her ears and saying words that she couldn't understand. Even so, she still didn't choose to turn off her hearing, but just slowed down and walked along the endless river. The environment here reminds me of a place. Suli suddenly said in a calm tone, "I almost died there." Black Lotus's expression changed slightly. "Is there such a place in the star path?" Suli had been in danger since her rebirth, and what he could remember was only the star path. "No." Suli shook her head and didn't continue to say. Black Lotus turned his head angrily and muttered, "Don't say it. With my ability, I can guess in a minute." As he spoke, he tried his best to recall and found a blind spot. Back then, in the space of Bizhui, in order to forcibly break through the second hurdle of Suyu tactics, Suli lost her Numa for 7 days, which almost made Bizhui think that she was going to change her master. From that time on, Suli became more and more mysterious and even knew some secrets that even he didn't know. "Looks like you've noticed something." Suli stopped at the end of the dark curtain and said in a flat voice, "There is a person at the end of the awareness sea." Black Lotus was immediately frightened and said with a trembling voice, "The sea of consciousness has always been invisible and formless." What kind of person's sea of consciousness is this? It can actually materialize? Are we really going in? Suli narrowed her eyes and transmitted the sound softly. "There's someone inside." Without waiting for Black Lotus to scream again, Suli stepped into it and disappeared without a trace. Darkness descended, and time seemed to have lost its meaning here. This place is strange. There seems to be a force constantly eroding me. If I leave the ring, I'll be hurt. The Black Lotus shrank back into the ring and sent a telepathic message out of fear. Suli was silent. She stood still and slowly closed her eyes. After a while, she opened them again. In her sight, there were many red lines covering the entire dark space. These red lines were all straight lines, and none of them was curved. They radiated radiantly in all directions, and there was more than one source. Suli remembered that the red lines she saw at the end of her awareness sea also had more than one source. But the number of sources was far less than here. "Let's go to the first one and have a look." Suli's figure floated away quickly. The black light outside her body was not very obvious, but it could compete with the eroding power in the dark space, and it could also draw power from the dark space without dimming. That is the light of Suli's own awareness. Black Lotus saw it in the ring, and his eyes flashed with excitement. Little Suli really went to the end of her own awareness. Since ancient times, there's a legend that there are countless lines of fate. Only by breaking through one's own awareness can one see them and have a chance to awaken the control method. Did little Suli awaken it? When Black Lotus was lost in thought, Suli had reached the first source. At the source, there was a vivid black and white city, and people could vaguely be seen walking in it. Black and white are that person's memory. Suli walked into the city skillfully and observed carefully. Although the memory was very short, she could see many clues. There are many practitioners walking in the city, and some of them are from the Ghost Clan. Among them, there are even tribal uniforms of the prehistoric Ghost Clan. Black Lotus said in surprise, "This is definitely the scene of all spirits' years. This person is an old monster of the human clan." "Why do you infer that he is from the human clan?" Suli asked. Black Lotus immediately raised his head proudly. "You don't understand this. At the critical moment, I still need to take action. Before he finished his words, Black Lotus caught a glimpse of Su Li's increasingly dangerous eyes. He immediately coughed and said, "In the legend, only the human clan has the end of the awareness. The human clan has 3 souls and 7 spirits as lamps, which can light up the road of the awareness. In ancient times, there were even mortals who lit up the end of the awareness in one night and became immortals. Although the legend can't be believed, since ancient times, it is true that only the human clan has the end of the awareness. Other clans don't have it. Some people even say that this is the talent of the human clan, but it is difficult to awaken." Su Li nodded and walked along the source. Although the power in the darkness was eroding, it was just instinct and would not hinder her. An hour later, Su Li stopped, and all the black and white pictures were taken in her eyes. Perhaps it was too long ago, and there were not many memories left. Naturally, Su Li could not infer much from it. The owner of the end of the awareness was called the All-Spirits Man. This All-Spirits Man was quite powerful in that era. At least in her memory, he had never been defeated. And he was the patriarch of a prosperous family with hundreds of thousands of clansmen, among which there were many geniuses. His future was promising. Later, for some unknown reason, the patriarch carefully planned something. He sealed all clansmen in a secret place, including his only son. Then the family was destroyed by thousands of disastrous thunder. At the end of the memory, he dragged his seriously injured body and sat on the throne. Below the throne, a person knelt on one knee and listened. Su Li looked at the secret place where the All-Spirits Man sealed his clansmen several times. It seemed to be a place she had been to before. That place was at the end of the awareness, but not the end of the awareness. Time passes extremely slowly in the awareness space. I felt that I stayed in it for several years, but when I woke up, I found that only a few days had passed. Su Li's eyes flashed. She stretched out her fingertips and touched the deepest one of the red lines. In her eyes, a path immediately appeared. But in the eyes of Black Lotus, he could not see anything. "Little Su Li, you can see the line of fate." Black Lotus muttered to himself sourly. "What's so good about it? I can still live without it. Why am I not a human clan?" After a short time, Su Li came to a river. In fact, it was not a river, because the river was composed of red lines of different shades, and the direction was the same. Some red lines were constantly shuttling back and forth. From a distance, it looked like a constantly flowing red river. "Su Li, what are you looking at? There is nothing here." Black Lotus was dumbfounded. "The river of fate," Su Li said calmly, which made Black Lotus have goosebumps. "There are the fates of countless people who have passed away here, and those fates will continue to disappear with the flow of time. If no one remembers them, they won't be able to find any trace of them in the river of fate." "How did you know these?" Black Lotus's voice was a little trembling. Su Li was still indifferent. "Naturally, I know." "Oh," Black Lotus responded obediently and restrained his breath. He finally realized that he could only watch and listen here. There's a blank space in the gap between the river of fate and the awareness space. Su Li glanced at the red river, turned around, and walked back along another red line. Black Lotus remembered the memory picture he saw before, and his face changed slightly. "You mean?" Su Li smiled slightly. "Let's go and have a look." Buzz, the red line, was trembling, and so were the memorial tablets in the ancestral hall. The handwriting on them was faintly revealed. Jiang Run could barely see one of the memorial tablets, and he was shocked speechless. "Oh, to pass evil with joy." The unintelligible whispers rang in his ears again. This time, even Black Lotus, who was hiding in the ring, could hear them clearly. His expression turned solemn. The darkness gradually faded along the red line and turned into dense ice tombs. As far as the eye could see, there was no end. 100,000 ice tombs were hidden in the cracks of fate. What a big deal. It's a pity that your patriarch sealed you in order to see the light of day one day. Now, tens of thousands of years have passed, and the people in the seal have already died. Cold and resentful breath came to her face, which made her shudder. Su Li's eyes were as dark as a pool of stagnant water. She took a deep breath, and a smile gradually appeared on her face. Good taste. Black Lotus's eyelids were straight. Master, take it easy. These ghosts have been dead for many years. They don't seem to be easy to deal with. Sister. Hong Baiju was attracted by the breath, and jumped out of Song Lei's cave by herself. Blood tears surged in her eyes. The breath is very strange. They are not under my father's command, but their breath is extremely strong. Sister, you have to be careful and don't disturb them. Don't worry. Suli touched Hong Baiju's small head, and the darkness in her eyes rippled. She looked up and chuckled under the gaze of two horrified people. I'm Su Jiuzhou of Prehistoric Ghost Clan. The latest chapter of The Poisonous Wife, the full text of The Poisonous Wife, the download address of The Poisonous Wife. The Poisonous Wife was reading on her mobile phone. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click Collect below to record this time, Chapter 584. You can see it next time you open the bookshelf. If you like The Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 585. You can search Poisonous Wife in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. Buzz. Suli's words were like throwing a hot boulder into the lake. The silent ice tomb was like cold water that had been boiled. It suddenly began to boil. Clang, clang, clang. One by one, the ice tombs moved forward abruptly and pressed forward. The sound of tiny footsteps seemed to be countless feet moving gently, but also strangely gave a depressing sound. The extreme contrast made people dizzy and nauseous. Master, shouldn't we hide for a while? Black Lotus was scared and his face turned pale. Hong Baiju was also trembling. The oppressive feeling of the same kind made her very scared. Suli still looked calm and fixed her eyes on one point. It was a source of crimson. Red lines as thick as an arm radiated from it and turned into a big red net, completely sealing the entire passage to the outside world. Sure enough, when a most oppressive ice tomb at the front touched the red lines, all the red lines suddenly seemed to be alive and shot out countless fine silk lines, tightly entangling the ice tomb. Bang! The ice tomb let out a deafening scream. Countless fine red lines were broken, but more and more red lines were added. It was impossible to break free. Bang! Roar! Whoop! There were continuous screams in the ice tomb. They stopped in Su Li's ears, but they were not horrible. Instead, she heard the sadness and even a whimper of despair. Are they whispering in my ear? Su Li's eyes were slightly gloomy. Before she thought about it, she suddenly heard Black Lotus's trembling voice. Little Su Li, look. What is that? What? Su Li ignored the red light and looked in the direction of Black Lotus. Sure enough, she saw an inconspicuous black stone tablet at the source of the red. Tablet? Su Li was slightly shocked. She remembered the information she received at the end of her spiritual awareness. She didn't care about the terrible 100,000 ice tombs behind the tablet and strode to the stone tablet. The stone tablet was only the size of a person, which was shorter than Su Li. It seemed to have no power, but the three vigorous and powerful characters on it made Su Li's soul tremble, and she couldn't come to herself for a long time. Leave. Hey, tablet! Black Lotus shrieked. His voice sounded as urgent as if he had lost his breath. The Lihin monument of Emperor Lihin is actually here. How is this possible? That was a peerless torch of the human race. Legend had it that great Emperor Lihin finally suppressed the evil of the demon race and perished together with the demon emperor. The hatred-parting monument had suppressed 100,000 demons, but this was completely different from what they had seen before. Ben, that's right. No, go. Su Li habitually narrowed her eyes and said softly, You also said that it is a legend. Are there any less negative rumors about me in the outside world? So what if you look at me? Black Lotus was at a loss for words. His expression became complicated, and he said in a sad voice, The consciousness here belongs to great Emperor Lihin himself. It can't be fake. The ones being suppressed here were not 100,000 evil spirits, but his clansmen. The clansmen of the great Emperor Li Hin were so honorable, but now they have all become ghosts. How tragic. Most things in the world don't go your way. Even someone as strong as Emperor Li Hin couldn't escape. Su Li murmured in a low voice, and there was a trace of sadness in her eyes. What about her? This time, she painstakingly faced nearly 80% of the enemies of holy sects in Qingshui Circle. What would be the final result? Hong Baizhu seemed to be infected by Su Li's emotion. She was surprised to find that the ice tombs gradually calmed down, and the red lines entwined on the ice tombs also returned to the hatred parting monument. Suddenly, a gloomy, shrill, and old ghost voice came from the tallest tombstone in the center of the ice tomb. "Little girl, you're not a monument keeper. Why can you come here?" Su Li seemed to be used to the unique, synthesized voice of the ghost, so she didn't care. She nodded slightly and said in a neither servile nor overbearing manner, "I can see the lines." As soon as she said that, the entire ice tomb fell into silence. After a long time, the shrill and old ghost said in a more shrill voice, "What did you say? You are clearly from the ghost clan. How can you light up the end of the consciousness?" Su Li smiled slightly. She pointed in the nothingness with her fingertips, and then 10 lamps suddenly appeared and lit up the nothingness around her. 3 souls and 7 spirits. You are from the human clan and also from the ghost clan. Evildoer. The ghostly aura in the ice tomb surged and only calmed down after a while. At that moment, an old figure suddenly charged out from the tombstone and stopped an inch behind the hatred parting monument. "First Elder, don't. The devil parting monument will damage your body." First Elder. Such an action immediately made the silent ghosts around anxiously stop him. For a moment, the land of the ice tomb was as lively as a vegetable market. Hong Baiju's expression was very interesting. There were so many sane ghosts. Even when her father was alive, there were only so many of them, right? What kind of clan was the family of the great Emperor of Lian? It was so strange. The old figure coughed softly. "It doesn't matter. I just want to say a few words. Be quiet." The old figure seemed to have a high prestige. As soon as he finished speaking, the surroundings became quiet again. At this moment, Su Li was also looking at the old figure. The clothes he transformed were the same as those in her memory. If she ignored his pale and terrible skin color and the ghost energy around him, he was just a kind old man. Su Li still smiled and said gently, "Old man, are you from the great Emperor of Lihin?" "The great Emperor of Lihin?" The old man sighed. "Is that what the future generations call Ashui?" "Ashui?" Su Li's eyes flashed. "Is it your chief?" "Who else but him?" The old man shook his head and counter-asked, "Could it be that too much time has passed that you have even forgotten the name of the realm lord of your world? The lord of the circle?" Su Li blinked her eyes and became more confused. "What are you talking about?" The old man snorted. "Then let me ask you, what is the name of this circle?" Su Li was slightly shocked and replied, "Qingshui Circle." The old man laughed and said something shocking. "That's it then. Listen carefully. Our clan leader is called Ling Qingshui. He is the lord of Qingshui Circle." "What?" Black Lotus couldn't help but cry out. "This circle was renamed Qingshui because someone unified this circle. I have no memory at all. How is it possible?" Hearing the source of the voice, the old man looked at the Black Lotus ring on Su Li's finger in surprise and became excited. "This voice? It's you, Qianmu." Black Lotus ring suddenly became silent. Su Li raised her hand and turned the ring. "Black Lotus, the old man said your name is Qianmu. Is it your name?" "No, it's not." Black Lotus was in a cold sweat, but he still pretended to be calm. "I don't even remember my own name. How can anyone remember me?" Hearing this, the old man finally realized that something was wrong. He frowned and said firmly, "You are Qianmu, Ghost Lotus King Qianmu. You are the treasure of the Ghost King and his brother. In those days, the Ghost King had a good relationship with Ashui and often brought you to drink as a guest. How could you forget it?" Black Lotus finally couldn't stand it and became excited. He opened his mouth and scolded, "What Qianmu and Shenmu? What are you talking about? My name is Black Lotus, and I am the treasure of the Ghost Clan. As for the great emperor of Lihan, we are not in the same era at all. How can we go together? Suli stared at the conversation between the two thoughtfully. The old man frowned and chuckled a moment later. His sharp voice did not sound strange. This king, your catchphrase hasn't changed, but your memory is messed up. Is it because your foundation was damaged by the Devil Clan, causing you to lose your memory, or did someone deliberately erase it? What the hell are you talking about? Black Lotus scolded. After a moment of silence, his voice suddenly became low. My real name is Qianmu, but I don't know why it's hard for me to face this name. What you said just now, is it true? Why should I lie? The old man shook his head, and Black Lotus suddenly fell into a deeper silence. Old man, do you know the name of Qi Xianqing? The old man frowned and was about to shake his head. Then he heard a weak female ghost's voice from a small and inconspicuous ice tomb. He is still alive? Suli raised her eyebrows and asked, do you know him? Yes, he and I are cultivation companions. The female ghost's voice came again. Just a few words made her gasp. Her strength was extremely weak. Suli was surprised. At that time, it was common for the ghost clan to marry the human clan. Don't make a fuss. The old man added and then said to the female ghost, Girl, you can transmit the sound to me, and I will speak for you. Thank you, First Elder. The old man nodded and looked back at Suli. He said, the Qi Xianqing you mentioned is a nobody in the ghost clan. His strength is not strong. If his cultivation companion is not here, you can't get his information. If you have anything to ask, just say it. I do have some doubts, and I hope you can answer them. Suli nodded slightly. It seemed that Black Lotus, let's call him Black Lotus for the time being, the problem of his body should not be caused by Qi Xianqing. Lihan, why did the Lord of Qing Shui Circle seal all of you at the beginning? That's because Qing Shui Circle encountered unimaginable danger. Even Shui himself couldn't protect himself. So, he could only seal us here and leave us a chance of survival. Unfortunately, the devil is 10 times stronger than the good. Alas, Suli's eyes flickered and she pointed to the stone tablet. Since it failed, why did the Lihan tablet seal you here? Let you die here one by one and end miserably. When the old man heard the words, his pale face immediately became ferocious, and his hair fluttered without wind. It's by M.O. He destroyed Shui's magic treasure and found a special way to counter it. This is also related to the reason why I show up to see you. I'd like to hear the details. If it's only this tablet that restrains us, we will not be so embarrassed as we used to be members of the Ling clan. In the past tens of thousands of years, the Devil Tablet has reached its limit and almost broken. But since 2,000 years ago, a tablet keeper appeared. This guy deserves to die. The latest chapter of The Poisonous Wife, the full text of The Poisonous Wife, the download of The Poisonous Wife. The Poisonous Wife was reading on her mobile phone. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click Collect below to record this time. Chapter 585, Lord of Qing Shui Circle. You can see it when you open the bookshelf next time. If you like The Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 586. You can search Poisonous Wife in Baidu. You can search for the latest chapter, The Monument Keeper. Suli frowned slightly and gently held her right arm. Yes. The old man's face was gloomy. I planned to find the whereabouts of the young lord after we got out of trouble. But the appearance of the Monument Keeper made it impossible for us to get out of trouble. He has the sword in the monument, so he must be the evil son sent by White Demon. I have heard of Lihan Monument and Lihan Sword. Su Li's eyes flashed and hid the fluctuation in her eyes. Do you know what method White Demon used to counter the magic treasure of the patriarch of the aristocratic family and even re-strengthen the seal? Logically speaking, it is not possible. After saying this, the old man turned his head and looked at an unusually narrow ice tomb in the distance. The other side of his face, hidden in the shadow, showed a deep sadness, which was difficult to hide. After a long time, the old man calmed down a little, but his voice was still a little trembling. It's the blood of the young lord. The young lord is likely met with an accident. Every once in a while, the monument keeper will come and insert the sword in the young lord's blood back into the monument to strengthen the seal. Su Li's pupils shrank, and she asked in a stern voice, "The young lord? Ling Qingshui's son? How could he survive until now?" "The young lord's seal is different from ours." The old man shook his head and explained, "The young lord was still a baby in swaddling clothes at that time. He was very fragile. If he was sealed directly, he could not survive at all." Ashui exchanged the treasure from the Star Hall, which made the young lord break away from the wheel of natural law and fall into a deep sleep. His time stopped from that moment. Until he wakes up again, his life soul will return to the wheel. Su Li touched her right arm, which was a little hot. Her thoughts were a little messy. Maybe is it possible? She was silent for a moment and tried to make her voice sound calm. "Is the monument keeper your young lord?" "Impossible." The old man looked ferocious. "If it was a young lord, how could we not sense his blood? Only the blood on that sword belongs to young master. He doesn't." He took a deep breath and suppressed the monstrous rage in his heart. He said in a low voice, "Miss, you're still too young. You're only at the nascent soul stage. Even if you light up your divine sense, you won't be able to shake Ashui's tablet in the slightest. I'm thick-skinned, but I only have one request. Elder, feel free to speak your mind." Su Li didn't reveal her strength and asked along. The elder threw out a token. "Take this and find Mo Wan Yuan of the Wind Thunder sect. He will definitely pass the fire element divine lightning to you. Only the innate divine lightning can deal with that sword. Stay in the Wind Thunder sect and cultivate well. If you don't have the confidence to defeat the monument keeper, do not come back here." Su Li looked at the quaint stone token in her hand. There is only a mark of thunder and lightning on it, which was the taste of the divine thunder of fire. She blinked her eyes and asked with a smile, "Aren't you afraid that I won't be able to return?" For ordinary people, going to the holy sect of the Wind Thunder sect to cultivate and get the inheritance of the divine thunder of 5 elements was almost the treatment of the great holy sun. It was indeed a great opportunity. When the old man heard this, he laughed out loud. "This is a huge gamble. You are the only one in the world who can light up the end of the divine sense, and happen to come here in the past tens of thousands of years. I have no choice. If you really disappear with this item, this old man will admit defeat." Su Li nodded. "This thing is really useful for me. Except for the divine thunder of fire, can the Lihin sword deal with the other divine thunder of 5 elements?" "Of course." The elder nodded and sighed. "But I remember that after the war in the Wind Thunder sect, only the divine thunder of fire could be inherited. Unfortunately, I see." Su Li nodded and smiled coldly. "Elder, you don't need to wait. I can let you out now. But the premise is that you are under my command." So many ghosts. Black Lotus and Hong Baiju's eyes brightened. The elder was stunned and almost thought that he had heard it wrong. "Little girl, don't bite off more than you can chew. You are just—" Before he finished his words, he saw that Su Li suddenly frowned slightly. She let go of her right arm and turned to look behind her. There, another black figure slowly walked over. A strangely shaped, blood-colored sword was dragged by his feet, giving off an ear-piercing sound. The monument keeper. The elder's pupils suddenly shrank, and his body floated back to the ice tomb. If he was cut by the Lihin sword, he would die on the spot. The black figure gradually approached, and every step seemed to be very heavy. Obviously, it was not easy for him to walk at the end of the divine sense. Step, step, step. The footsteps echoed quietly in the gap of fate, accompanied by the slide of the sword tip. Su Li stood calmly in the same place, and gradually saw clearly the Yang Jade mask on his face and the cold and lifeless eyes behind the Yang Jade mask. "Ha ha ha!" She lifted the corner of her mouth and laughed in a low voice. Was he afraid that others didn't know who he was wearing this? Hearing the laughter, Ling Li suddenly stopped, and the focus of his eyes gradually condensed into a little silver light, followed by the shock in his heart. An evil spirit escaped? The dignified emperor of evil has done all kinds of evil deeds secretly. How many years have you been the monument keeper? Su Li said his origin. Li took a deep breath, took off the mask, and said in a calm voice, "You know this mask, so you are not the evil spirit here. Don't be confused by evil and greedy words. It's not good for you to hear too much." Oh, Li walked with her body swaying, and her eyes were shining. "Emperor of evil, when did you become a kind-hearted philanthropist? When you see someone hindering you, shouldn't you kill him immediately to eliminate the threat?" Li looked indifferent, turned around to bypass Li, and slowly approached the Lihin tablet. But he saw a flash of light in front of him, and Li stood in front of him again. The black veil fluttered, and the black lotus mark at the corner of her eyes was revealed. Li's indifferent face immediately turned cold. "Are you going to stop me?" "So what?" Li stared at his eyes. "Emperor of evil, do you want to kill me? If you don't hinder me, I don't care why you come here." Li's eyes were full of killing intent. "If you stop me, you will die." "How powerful you are!" Li's eyes turned dark instantly, and she grabbed the Lihin sword in his hand like lightning. Li's face changed, and more blood flowed into the Lihin sword. Instantly, the heavy sword became light as if nothing, and disappeared with a swish. So fast, Li's eyes were fixed, and she retreated without saying a word. The tip of the sword just passed in front of her, and the veil was annihilated into powder. Crack! Li stopped and touched her cheek with her fingertips, and a touch of red came out. A trace of blood appeared under her right eye, and the wound disappeared in a breath. That sword could hurt him. This destructive power is at the level of Junior Emperor, and you can actually deal with it. The voice of the old man sounded in her mind. "I didn't expect that you hid your strength, and even I couldn't see it. But it's not a good place to fight for a long time, or all of us will be involved in the river of fate and become nourishment. Be careful." Li's eyes narrowed into a line, and her figure paused. Then she suddenly rushed out, and the gray film quickly covered her fists and palms. "Then let's finish it quickly. Fast. Too fast." Li's pupils shrank. Before the fist arrived, the wind of the fist had blown his hair straight and danced backward. It was too late to dodge, and he could only raise his sword to resist. Boom! As soon as the sword touched, the horrible force was transmitted to Li's arm along the sword, which instantly made him pale and shocked. Junior Emperor! He relied on the Lihin sword to reach this level, and this woman's strength was not less than his. "Why are you in a daze?" Swish! Laughter suddenly sounded in his ears. Li's figure flickered, and she suddenly appeared beside him. She hit his head with her palm. "Oh no!" Li's heart thumped, and his body suddenly turned into a boneless thing. He twisted and forcibly moved back 1 foot. Her fingertips just swept across his face, and it was only a few centimeters away. Li was in a cold sweat, and he was about to be relieved. No! Boom! The wind of the palm was like a knife, and it was full of wind pressure like a hurricane. In the blink of an eye, Li was blown away like a cannonball, and he accurately bombarded on the Lihin tablet. "With that sword, you and I have the same combat power, but you are not as good as me in terms of physical strength." A cold voice sounded in his ears. Li suddenly raised his head, and there were 3 bloodstains on his face. In his eyes, Li walked very slowly, but her figure flickered in every step. She rushed forward quickly and stood less than 10 feet away from him in the time of breath. It's an illusion to improve your strength by external objects. The Lord of Evil should understand that if you continue to fight, you have no chance to win. This sword should belong to me. Li did not hesitate, and the moment she touched the Lihin sword flew away with the wind. At the moment when Li relaxed, Li went away in a flash. I failed to reinforce the seal this time, and I also encountered such a strong enemy. I have to retreat for the time being. Want to escape? Li slightly pursed her lips and then raised the corner of her mouth. At the end of the spiritual awareness, can you escape? As she spoke, her figure had already drifted away, leaving a group of ghosts of the Ling family who were shocked and silent. This, First Elder, This woman's bone age is less than 100 years old. With such strength, even in our era. Peerless evildoer. The old man sighed with emotion. In the history of this circle, there are two people as evildoer as her, and they are both women. One of them is the Lord of Kuayu Palace. The clansmen of the Ling family were all shocked, and then they were surprised. That's First Elder. She just said that she has a way to help us remove the seal. The old man laughed heartily, and his old ghost eyes showed unprecedented light, lighting up the end of the spiritual awareness. She is likely to go further and realize the way to control the line of fate. If I guess right, the monument keeper can't escape. Bang! Lingli knelt on the ground in astonishment and looked at the beautiful figure walking slowly in the distance. When he was about to straighten up, Su Li casually picked the red line connecting Ling Li's legs with her fingertips. Plop! Ling Li was shocked, and he lost the feeling of his legs again. It seems that you still don't understand what this place is. In that gap, you and I are equal, but here, you are at the mercy of others. Su Li squatted down and suddenly grasped the second red line with her left hand. Ling Li groaned and lost the control of his upper body. He fell to the ground, but Su Li lifted him up by his lapel and approached his face. Her tone was extremely gentle. Lord Evil Emperor, you also have this day. The latest chapter of The Poisonous Wife, the full text of The Poisonous Wife, the download of The Poisonous Wife, The Poisonous Wife. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click Collection below to record this time. Chapter 586. Lord Evil Emperor, you also have this day. You can read it next time when you open the bookshelf. If you like The Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 587. You can search Poisonous Wife in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. In the silent and pale fate, Su Li walked slowly. Her black gauze dress was fluttering, but it was still spotless. As she approached, the black rune cage floating behind her also followed. In the cage, Ling Li was suppressed by the rune matrix and couldn't move. He looked unwilling. Old man, I'm back. Su Li's smile was as gentle as ever, but the first elder of Ling family always felt that there was an extra meaning of farewell in her smile. Liberation was imminent, and he didn't bother to think about it. He showed up and clasped his hands to express his gratitude. Your great kindness, I can't repay you. If we can really get out of trouble, it's not too much for us to serve you as our master. But we have a blood feud, and we have to find the whereabouts of the young lord. Old man, don't be in a hurry to refuse. Tell me how to let you out first. Su Li timely stopped the old man from continuing. The old man nodded, and his eyes fell on Ling Li, who couldn't move. His eyes were instantly filled with deep hatred, and his tone was barely stable. Since the tablet keeper showed up, it will be much easier for us to get out of trouble. As long as the sword in the tablet is destroyed, the devil tablet will also be weakened. Even without the innate thunder, the power in it can be reversed. Hearing this, Ling Li suddenly opened his closed eyes and stared at Su Li. He said coldly, do you really want to help the wicked and release these evil spirits? Qingshui's circle will be in chaos. Ha! Su Li laughed a little wildly. Looking at the familiar and strange face of Ling Li, she leaned over and whispered, do you really think you are righteous? Lord of Evil, should I say you are naive or stupid? Ling Li's heart skipped a beat. He never thought that the one in Shengtian Shrine was righteous, but he never doubted that he became the tablet keeper. Could it be? What do you mean? He stared at Su Li, but Su Li looked away and asked, old man, how to destroy the sword in the tablet? This sword has been integrated with the tablet keeper. He is the sword, and the sword is him. The old man's face was cold. Kill him. The sword self-destructs. Ling Li's face was tense, and he said coldly, if you want to kill me, just say it. Even if I really die, that sword will still be there. It can't be destroyed. Ha ha ha. Do you think this old man will believe you? Su Li's expression changed slightly, but only for a moment, and then she returned to normal. She said indifferently, Well, she approached the cage, and the runes immediately made way for her. She stopped in front of Ling Li and suddenly reached out to grab his throat. Master! Black Lotus was a little anxious. No, please reconsider. Shut up. Su Li's eyes were full of killing intent. Lord Evil Emperor, it is said that you are lustful by nature. You have 3,000 concubines in your harem and countless children, but you are inhumane and ruthless. You killed all your children with your own hands, because you don't allow anyone to threaten your position, right? Su Li exerted force in her hand. Cough, cough. Ling Li was choked and coughed for a while, but his expression didn't change. He just looked at Su Li calmly. Would you believe me if I said no? You will spare my life? Of course not. Su Li squinted her long and narrow eyes and got close to Ling Li's face. Because I won't believe a word you said. No. Suddenly, a familiar scream came from Ling Li's arms. Su Li was slightly absent-minded and loosened her hand. A frameless mirror full of cracks rushed out of Ling Li's arms and blocked in front of her. A pale woman's face emerged from the mirror and hurriedly explained, "He doesn't have a concubine at all. They're all lies made up by a Shangtian shrine in order to make him work for Shangtian shrine for a lifetime. Although he is the son of the Lord of Shangtian shrine, the Lord of Shangtian shrine didn't treat him as a human being at all. 1,000 years ago, he came back with the son of the Lord of Shangtian shrine. The Lord of Shangtian shrine was furious and immediately wanted to execute Wang. If he didn't deal with the Lord of Shangtian shrine as a monument keeper, Wang would have." "Enough," Ling Li interrupted and looked at the reincarnation mirror quietly. Jing Xin flew forward and stopped in Su Li's palm. She begged, Don't kill him." Su Li's fingertips gently stroked Jing Xin's face. She smiled lightly and transmitted the sound in a low voice. "I know you. It seems that you have been with him for 1,000 years and have feelings for him. Do you feel sorry for your lord?" Jing Xin's body trembled violently, and tears gushed out. She begged in a low voice, I never asked for anything. Senior, if you let him go today, I will go with you. I am the most precious reincarnation mirror, and I will not disgrace your identity." Jing Xin, don't say anymore. Ling Li's words couldn't hide his tiredness. He closed his eyes and suddenly relaxed his body. He was so tired. He was really tired. He wanted to see Li so much. At this moment, the meaningless life could finally come to an end. Where would Li wait for him for 1,000 years? Or she couldn't forgive him and hid. The fragments in his mind flashed back, all of which were the bits and pieces of the time when he was with Su Li in the virtual world. His lips, which had always been cold, had a trace of warmth. "Were you dreaming?" Su Li stopped in front of him and said in a clear voice. Ling Li slowly opened his eyes. There was still a trace of recollection in his calm eyes. He smiled and said, "Your voice is very nice, but is not as good as my wife." This sentence made his heart skip a beat. Su Li's eyes flashed. She turned her head and snorted in a low voice. "The dignified Emperor of Evil is still trapped in the virtual world. It's ridiculous." The elder in the ice tomb was more and more confused. Why didn't she take action but chat with the monument keeper? Although he was anxious, he didn't dare to urge Su Li because of her strength. He could only wait and see. If you die, the sun you protect will fall into eternal damnation. Do you have a heart to do that? Su Li clenched her fists and asked. Ling Li looked at Su Li doubtfully. He was not stupid. At this moment, he finally realized that the woman in front of him didn't want to kill him. Why? From her standpoint, there was no reason to let him go. Perhaps because of the knot in his heart. He was silent for a moment and finally said, "There is enough power around him to protect him." "Fang Yuan and the motley crew you brought up again?" Su Li sneered mercilessly. "It's treason to use the name of Linli Building. How dare you say it's enough with such little power?" As soon as she said this, Ling Li's pupils instantly shrank to the extreme. He stared at Su Li's face and breathed slightly quickly. His voice couldn't stop trembling. "How do you know who you are?" "We have met, Lord of Evil." Su Li chuckled and imprisoned Jing Xin. She put in the space of Black Lotus ring, In the ghost region, I beat you hard. Do you forget it so soon? Descendant of Ghost Clan. Langley immediately remembered and blurted out. What followed was endless disappointment. He even forgot to ask why Su Li knew the existence of the Linley building. No wonder he couldn't defeat her. This woman could even kill the Grand Elder of Han's sect in the early years. My current name is Su Jiuzhou. Su Li smiled faintly. In the near future, you will remember this name deeply. As for now, Su Li turned around. Old man, this person is still useful to me. Is there a way to take out Li Hin's sword without hurting his life? Although the old man was a little uncomfortable, he still replied, It's very difficult. Unless someone can completely master an innate holy thunder and control it carefully to completely strip the power of Li Hin's sword from his body. Ling Li's heart sank. It turned out that he had such a deep relationship with Li Hin's sword. But the Lord of Shangtian Shrine clearly said that this thing was taken out from his body and put into his body in order to prolong his life. Was it also a lie? The old man thought that Su Li would be a little embarrassed when she heard this. Unexpectedly, Su Li not only didn't, but also smiled with a relaxed face. I see. Then it's simple. Su Bai, come out. Sister, what can I do for you? The whirlpool of Song Lei's cave appeared out of thin air. Su Bai in white walked out of it. He was surrounded by green thunder, like a thunder god. Strip the foreign power from his body, Su Li carefully instructed. Others, including Ling Li, were all in a daze. This innate thunder spirit. The old man was shocked and overjoyed. He said, Fellow practitioner Su, there is no accident that the innate thunder spirit can strip the Li Hin sword. He is the holy thunder, and the holy thunder is him. The ability to control thunder and lightning is incomparable with the power of thunder and lightning practiced by the human clan. Sister, your decision is naturally wise. Su Bai glanced at the old man with appreciation. Then he floated to Ling Li. Countless green thunder instantly poured into Ling Li's pores. Ling Li, who was ready to bear the pain, was stiff. Then he suddenly relaxed and opened his eyes in surprise. This power was not painful, but a little comfortable. He had never felt that thunder and lightning could be so gentle. It shuttled through his tendons and meridians, making him feel numb and even a little warm. Humph! The power of divine thunder of wood is naturally gentle. How lucky you are! The old man was very unhappy when he saw Ling Li's reaction, but he couldn't say anything since Su Li was beside him. The power of innate thunder and lightning to destroy evil was extremely strong. As soon as it entered Ling Li's tendons and meridians, the Li Hin sword was like a mouse meeting a cat. It fled frantically. However, under Su Bai's perfect control, the Li Hin sword was cunning enough, but it had no power to resist in front of absolute power. Soon, a trace of scarlet power escaped along the sharp pores and condensed into an illusory sword shadow to escape. Su Li snorted coldly. Blue thunder and lightning flashed out of her fingertips. In the blink of an eye, a water prison was built around the illusory sword shadow, which suppressed it and couldn't move. Divine thunder of water! The old man was shocked again. She has two kinds of divine thunder at the same time. Is this woman the current lord of the Wind Thunder sect? No. The two divine thunders of Wind Thunder sect were clearly fire and earth. It doesn't match at all. As time went by, the sword shadow in the water prison became more and more solid. Something more shocking happened to the old man. The latest chapter of The Poisonous Wife: The Poisonous Wife: The Poisonous Wife: The Poisonous Wife. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click Collection below to record this time. Chapter 587. Next time you open the bookshelf, you can see it. If you like The Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 588. You can search Poisonous Wife in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. As the pneuma of the Li Hin sword was gradually stripped away, Ling Li frowned and pressed his heart. Their strange wave was being reborn and constantly emerging. Although Ling Li had never been in contact with such a wave, he did not panic. Instead, he felt a strange warmth. This Numa, how could it be? The old man stared at Ling Li, who was frowning. The coldness on his face had not faded, but the surprise and excitement came up and mixed into an extremely strange expression. Thump! Thump! As Su Bai drew out nearly 90% of the Lihin's sword, the sound of another heartbeat suddenly sounded in his heart. The new power flowed along the tendons and veins to the limbs and bones with the heartbeat. He could not help but groan and cough up a mouthful of blood. This mouthful of blood fell on the ground, but there was a little bit of golden light rippling in the dark red. Su Li stood beside Su Bai and watched this scene quietly. She knew very early that this sword absorbed Ling Li's blood, since the old man said that Ling Li's identity was self-evident. Deceiving Ling Li to suppress his own clansmen, by Mo, a cold silver light appeared in Su Li's eyes. Whether it's me or Ling Li, the grievances of Qingshui's circle are gradually clear. Ling Li suddenly bent over and held his head in pain. The blue veins on his face were exposed. Su Bai withdrew his hand blankly. Sister, what's wrong with him? That strange power has already been cleansed. Su Li gently wiped the fine sweat on Su Bai's forehead and said faintly, Probably. He received some bad memories. Su Bai suddenly nodded and immediately returned to Tsang Lei's cave. It's impossible. Ling Li suddenly straightened up, and his whole body shone with golden light. He instantly broke free from the black cage and stirred up a gust of wind. His body flickered and disappeared into the gap in the blink of an eye. Su Li stepped back a few steps and looked surprised. Don't you go after him? Black Lotus asked cautiously. No, let him be alone. I think Xingtian Shrine has no time to find him recently. Young lord, when the old man came back to his senses, his eyes were filled with tears and his rotten body was trembling. He is really the young master. I didn't recognize the young master in front of me. I actually wanted to kill the young master. What a sin. Young master is still alive. How many clansmen has the young master killed? The young lord's mind was clouded, and he only regained his memories today. Sounds rose and fell in the ice tomb, and they were mournful, as if they were sobbing. The truth was too cruel for them. Su Li watched this scene quietly, without sadness or joy. Then she grabbed the Lihin sword with one hand. The evil sword trembled violently, and countless blood streaks surged and entangled, trying to drill into Su Li's body from her arm to find a new host. Su Li smiled coldly. It seems that your mind is not high. You're not qualified to be my magic treasure. After saying that, Su Li wiped the edge of the sword with her palm, and the dark red blood instantly soaked the sword. The evil sword immediately absorbed all the blood excitedly. Fellow Taoist Su, you can't. When the old man saw this scene, he was instantly shocked. But before he finished speaking, he was shocked to see that the clean and cold body of the hatred sword was actually starting to rust at a speed visible to the naked eye. Bang! In just a few breaths, with the scream of the spirit of the hatred sword, the body of the hatred sword directly turned into flying ash, fell from Su Li's fingers, and piled up into a small pile of debris on the pale ground. The old man was speechless on the spot. He had lived in the ice tomb for tens of thousands of years, but at this moment, he felt inexplicably cold in his heart. Blood poison of Een Ghost. She is really from the prehistoric ghost clan, but also from the human clan. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, it would be unbelievable. Thinking of this, the old man was really a little tempted by Su Li's proposal just now. Perhaps it would be much better to follow her after getting out of trouble than to explore this completely strange Qingshui circle with his clansmen. Crack! The crisp cracking sound pulled the old man back to reality. Seeing the golden thunder shooting out of Su Li's fingertips, he fell into silence again and then smiled bitterly. Divine thunder of metal. Although he knew that this woman was showing her strength to him, the divine thunder of 5 elements occupied 3, which was really Divine thunder of metal deserved to be the most aggressive divine thunder. Just a few bombardments made the Lihin tablet full of cracks. The last blow, Suli squinted and put away the divine thunder of metal. She changed to the divine thunder of water and bombarded the center of the Lihin tablet fiercely. Bang! The Lihin tablet was broken into pieces and fell into pieces of gravel. In Su Li's eyes, the red lines also disappeared at the same time. After finishing this step, Su Li suddenly felt something. She waved her sleeves to make a whirlpool while sneering. Then she looked up and said quickly, "All of you, enter my cave immediately." Although the old man didn't know what happened, he was extremely decisive. With an order, he led the remaining tens of thousands of clansmen to jump into the whirlpool and disappeared. Putting away the cave, Su Li left the gap without saying anything and returned along the original road. Just when Su Li was about to leave the end of the spiritual awareness and enter the karst cave below, the space at the end of the entire spiritual awareness suddenly stagnated for a moment. Then all the red lines began to tremble, gradually deviated from the original track, and pointed to the same point. Whoosh! The first red line shot out like a sharp sword. It seemed to have a chain reaction, and the remaining tens of thousands of red lines shot out at the same time. The edge of nothingness suddenly became sharp. Ding, 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 ding. Soon after they were shot out, a series of collisions sounded in the darkness of nothingness. Countless red lines shattered and drifted, dyeing the boundless darkness with a touch of red. Whoosh! A white shadow flashed from the end of the spiritual awareness, withstanding the spontaneous bombardment of the red lines. But it didn't stop at all. Almost in a breath, it came to the dead ice tomb and stood still. Oh, the little devils of Ling got out of trouble. They have some skills. After the Tianjiao battle started, even I couldn't figure out any clues. Did this person do it intentionally or unintentionally? The experiment of the daughter of luck of the second generation really failed. The first generation is still alive. Is it her doing something? Or the boy of the Ling family has awakened his bloodline? The white shadow walked to the place where Ling Li vomited blood, stretched out his hand to point the ground, and smiled. Well, even if Ling got out of trouble, it wouldn't affect the plan. Why should I worry about Shangtian Shrine? While talking to himself, his figure collapsed into nothingness like smoke. This white shadow turned out to be a clone. Su Li returned to the Infinity River. Looking back, she frowned slightly. What's wrong? Black Lotus also looked back curiously, but he didn't feel anything. The end of Ling Qingshui's spiritual awareness seems to be damaged. Black Lotus's face changed slightly. Let's go quickly. Su Li nodded. It doesn't matter. The source of danger I sensed has disappeared. Is it the white demon that the old man mentioned? Su Li's eyes flickered, who knows? Walking along the river for a while, Su Li soon found the original hole. She returned to the mountain road and continued to climb. There were no outsiders present, so she naturally sped up. Except for the occasional high-grade tactical matrix of illusion that interested her and made her stop for a while, she finished the rest with one punch. The tests arranged in the Shangxian Mountain didn't test the highest strength of the peak of nature's test. For her, it was the same. She even had time to chat with the first elder of Ling in Song Lei's cave to understand the situation. After entering the cave, the first elder of Ling saw that Hong Baizhu and Su Bai could get along well. He became more determined and finally let down his guard. He told them some detailed information. He was the great elder of the Ling clan, and his name was Ling Zhizhen. Back then, his strength had also reached the peak of the great emperor realm. However, compared to Ling Qingshui, although they were in the same realm, their strength was a few levels lower. In Ling Zhizhen's words, the early stage of Deshang realm was the realm of half-emperor. They could initially control the power of heaven and earth and form a field. The realm of great emperor required a perfect Deshang realm. They could influence the rules of this world and be suppressed by the natural law. Ling Qingshui's level was above the natural law. He replaced the natural law to become the lord of this world and was invincible. Is that the legendary immortal? Yes. Although Ashui is still called the emperor by the people of this world, his realm has long surpassed the Shang realm and reached the realm of immortals. He can break the void and travel beyond the sky. Ashui has also been to the sky and then came back with serious injuries. As for his experience in the sky, he only said, "There's always someone better than you," and didn't talk about it in detail. So, Elder Ling, how much do you know about the Star Hall mentioned just now? Ling Zhizhen smiled bitterly. I only heard from Ashui that it is an extremely huge and ancient force beyond the sky. I don't know the details. It doesn't matter. Elder Ling's words have already broadened my horizons. After a day of communication, Ling Zhizhen found that Su Jiuzhou's temperament was surprisingly kind. Compared with her terrifying talent and strength, it was simply impossible for her to have such a temperament at such a young age. She has reached the realm of Yuanying realm before the age of 30, and her combat power is even extraordinary among the half-emperor. She is much more terrifying than Ashui. If such an evildoer walks in the outside world, the natural law must be jealous of her. How did she survive until now? Ling Zhizhen was full of doubts and fell silent. Su Li immersed herself in the journey, but her thoughts became active with the conversation with Ling Zhizhen. In this way, although her combat power had reached the half-emperor, her realm was too far away. If she met a half-emperor with the same combat power, she would be quite passive if she was led into the domain by him. How could she deal with it? Su Li remembered the unlucky Grand Elder of Goshan sect who died in her hands in the Ghost region. If she didn't have the fragment of the small world at that time, and the Grand Elder of Goshan sect was too careless, the result would be really hard to say. Su Li's eyes darkened. She seized the ice demon, occupied the Jiuzhou region, and her strength reached the level of half-emperor. The frequent victories seemed to make her a little too relaxed. After this matter, it's time to go to a few places to improve my strength again. After making up her mind, Su Li got rid of the distractions and accelerated to climb. The distance between a Shengxian mountaintop was only 100 meters. At the same time, in the space of Black Lotus Ring, there was another scene. The latest chapter of Poisonous Wife, the full text of Poisonous Wife, the download of Poisonous Wife, the Poisonous Wife. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click Collection below to record this time. Chapter 588, Bloodline Awakening. Reading record. You can see it next time you open the bookshelf. If you like Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 589. You can search Poisonous Wife in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. In the dark and boundless space, a frameless mirror full of cracks was suspended in the center. The light flashed from the mirror, and Jing Xian's pale and confused face appeared. Where is this? This is the space of my body. Tut! The mirror of reincarnation mirror is back. Black Lotus appeared from the darkness. Although he looked the same as the human clan, his eyes were pure white, and there was a black lotus between his eyebrows. His body was a little transparent. Obviously, he was a spirit, not a human clan. What are you going to do with her? Another voice came from another direction. Jing Xian turned the mirror and saw a pocket-sized, odd-shaped beast moving its limbs and walking slowly. Seeing this beast, Jing Xian immediately recalled the giant beast that she had seen from afar. Her face turned pale and paler than before. Black Lotus laughed. "Stupid donkey, it seems that she recognized you." The reincarnation beast helplessly lay in front of the mirror and licked its claws. I once gave her the ability to control the world of reincarnation. Of course, she recognized me. You are the real mirror spirit. Jing Xian's body couldn't stop trembling. She was just a fake mirror spirit. Now the real spirit appeared, and her fate could be imagined. Master said that don't hurt her. Black Lotus smacked his lips. I didn't expect that ruthless guy to be soft-hearted. She was almost cuckolded. Black Lotus, it seems that you need some divine thunder to supplement your nutrition. Su Li's faint voice sounded in his ears. Black Lotus was so scared that his face turned green. He slapped himself hard and shouted pitifully, "Master, I was wrong." Puff! The reincarnation beast couldn't help laughing, and then immediately covered its mouth. Its face turned red. "After swallowing the mirror, if you still don't show any special features, I will consider changing a blood-refined magic weapon." Now, the reincarnation beast couldn't laugh anymore. It tucked its tail and nodded. When the voice faded away, Black Lotus rubbed his face and muttered, "Damn it, she can really see my body space." When did she? Thinking that Suli might be watching him all the time, Black Lotus shivered and swallowed what he wanted to say bitterly. He patted on the head of the reincarnation beast and said, "Hurry up. Don't let the master wait too long." The reincarnation beast shrank its head and thought that it had never seen anyone fawning so much before. It slowly spat out the ring of reincarnation mirror from its mouth. The mirror ring flew out without guidance and immediately integrated with the mirror surface. A white light shot out from the crack, covering the face of the mirror core. After a while, the white light dissipated and a complete bronze mirror appeared in front of it. After a while, the white light dissipated and a complete bronze mirror appeared. Black Lotus reached out to touch the surface of the reincarnation mirror, but was interrupted by the beast's claw. The mirror flew away with a swoosh and was directly swallowed by the little beast. "I just fused with it. I still need to nurture it personally." Black Lotus looked at the reincarnation beast that was slowly closing its eyes. He clapped his hands and said without a care in the world, "Who cares about that broken mirror of yours? Remember, don't digest that little girl. Otherwise, Master will blame you. You know what will happen. I know the consequences." The little beast opened its eyes and glanced at the Black Lotus for a moment before closing them again. Black Lotus turned around and sighed. He secretly glanced at the dimmest corner of the ring. Could it be that she saw it all? On the third day after the opening of the Immortal Ascension Mountain, at the peak of the mountain, the cold wind carried with it a thick coldness as it blew against her face, causing her dress to flutter like the wings of a black butterfly. This is the end? Suli glanced carefully and found no other traps. She stepped on the top of the round stone surface with a radius of hundreds of feet without saying anything. At this moment, the arcane realm's spirit's voice rang out in her ears again. An insect, Su Jiuzhou reaches the top. First on the prodigy roll, Suli chuckled and asked tentatively, "Are these words heard only by me or by all the talents who climbed the mountain?" After a pause in the nothingness for a moment, the arcane realm's spirit replied, "Only you." Suli tilted her head and blinked. She said softly, "Can you inform everyone?" The arcane realm's spirit, "Can I?" Suli's tone became softer, and she waited calmly. The arcane realm's spirit couldn't bear it anymore. "Let me think about it for a moment." Suli was not surprised that the arcane realm's spirit showed its intelligence. She had guessed it a long time ago. She just nodded and said, "Thank you very much." While waiting for the spirit of the secret realm to consider the result, Suli finally focused her attention on the altar in the center of the round stone surface. The altar occupied 60% of the area of the stone surface. Suli walked to it in a few steps and saw a jade slip like a matrix plate placed on the altar. She touched the jade slip with her fingers, and several thoughts immediately poured into her awareness sea. First on the list, you are blessed with luck and drive away all evil spirits. You will be the pillar of Qing Shui's circle in the future. Put your palm on the stone plate and think about anything you want. As long as it belongs to Qing Shui's circle, I will satisfy your wish. Suli moved her fingertips away, and her eyes were shining. She murmured to herself, "Is this the thought left by Ling Qing Shui? Except for the Lord of Qing Shui circle, no one could make such an arrogant promise." Unfortunately, as strong as Ling Qing Shui was, he would also be defeated one day. Rumble. The nothingness vibrated faintly. It seemed that the arcane realm spirit was shocked when it heard the words, Ling Qing Shui. Suli didn't care much about it. After thinking for a moment, she gently pressed her palm on the jade slip. Several thoughts flashed through her mind. After a moment of entanglement, she finally instilled one into the matrix plate jade slip. I want the cultivation comprehension of Sueyu tactics of Kueyu Palace. Anyone can do it. Buzz. The matrix plate jade slip vibrated and burst out a burst of white light. Then it rushed into the altar and disappeared. Suli was calm and quiet, waiting quietly. If she could search the whole Qingshui circle, then it would definitely take a lot of time. At this time, the voice of the arcane realm sounded. Your request has been accepted by the altar. There is indeed something you want in Qingshui circle. Otherwise, the jade butterfly on the altar will not drill into the altar. Su Li's eyes brightened. That's good. So, Spirit of the Arcane Realm, what do you think? The Spirit of the Arcane Realm was silent for a moment. You have the relic of Buddha Yuan Ancient Temple. I am willing to help you. Su Li smiled. Thank you. It would be best if you could say it several times. The Spirit of the Arcane Realm. In I sect, Su Jiuzhou is on the top. She is the first on the Tianjiao list. In I sect, Su Jiuzhou is on the top. She is the first on the Tianjiao list. In I sect, Su Jiuzhou is on the top. She is the first on the Tianjiao list. Just after noon, many top talents were not far from the top of the mountain. But at this moment, everyone heard the same voice, which was announced by the Spirit of the Arcane Realm. It was repeated 3 times. The immortal Ascension Mountain, which seemed to be in full swing, paused for a moment, and then burst into unparalleled excitement. It has only been 2.5 days, and someone has taken the first place. How is it possible? It is not the evil emperor, but Su Jiuzhou, the dark horse. It's dark to the end. Who is Su Jiuzhou? I have never heard of the Ni sect. Where are the people of the holy sects? Don't be impatient. The current ranking is still uncertain. When the people of the holy sects climb to the top, there will be a bloody battle. Yes, let's speed up. On the rugged and winding mountain road, Ling Xian walked gracefully on the mountain road. She chose the right fork, and her progress was only 80% of the whole mountain. With Ling Li fighting in front of her, she didn't need to risk her life at all. She just needed to reach the top a little earlier. At that time, Ling Li would help her fight for the top 10 on the Tianjiao list and add power to her fate palace. No holy sect could achieve the top 10 on the Tianjiao list, but now it would be realized in her hands. In I sect, Su Jiuzhou is on the top. She is the first on the Tianjiao list. The cold voice of the spirit of the secret realm was merciless. Ling Xian's smile froze on her face, and then her expression immediately became gloomy. She was no longer as calm as before. What the hell is Ling Li doing? How could he let an unknown female practitioner reach the top? She had to speed up and rush to the top of the mountain because of such a change. Almost at the same time, all the talents sped up the process of climbing the mountain. The whole Immortals Mountain instantly became more lively than before. In the outside world, the Tianjiao list was still blank. The ranking would not appear until the end of the 3rd day. Therefore, the whole Immortals Mountain seemed abnormally quiet. It's like the calm before the storm. Xia Wei held the teacup and stood in front of the window. Her eyes were distant and full of tranquility, but there was a trace of doubt. Great-grandfather actually gave such an order. What did he see? On the top of the mountain, although she couldn't see the situation in the mountain, she was in a good mood. Seeing that the matrix plate in the jade slip had not returned, she didn't continue to wait. She opened Song Lei's cave and released all the participants of the Tianjiao competition. The spirit of the secret realm saw this scene. He had never seen such an unruly participant, but because of the Buddha Yuan ancient temple Saraira and the words Ling Qingsh, he hesitated for a moment and finally chose to be silent. Suddenly coming to the outside world, Ban Xian and others were in a trance, and then quickly reacted. This is the top of the mountain, the Immortals Mountain. Yin Xuedong's pupil shrank. She saw Su Li leaning against the altar, but there was no surprise in her eyes. As early as in the stage of the puppet, she had seen that the strength of this woman was still above Ling Li, so it was no surprise that she was the first to reach the top. Feng Mu scratched his head. He always felt sorry for those talents who climbed up hard to reach the top in this way. Chu Qingning was silent. He pulled a new set of clothes from the universe ring and put them on, covering the little black blood on the old clothes. Su Bai had washed away all the negative emotions of the second test of his 7 feathers evil skill. When he woke up, he remembered all his previous actions. He could do nothing but be silent. In the silence, he looked at Su Li with a hint of gratitude in his eyes. If it weren't for her, he was likely to be trapped in the second test forever and become a lunatic who only knew how to do evil. The latest chapter of The Poisonous Wife, the full text of The Poisonous Wife, the download address of The Poisonous Wife. The Poisonous Wife was reading on her mobile phone. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click Collect below to record this time. Chapter 589. You can read the record next time you open the bookshelf. If you like The Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 590. You can search Poisonous Wife in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. The Chiyu evil skill had 7 tests. The first test was desire. The second test was evil thoughts. The third test was love. The fourth test was fear. The fifth test was sorrow. The sixth test was anger. The seventh test was joy. The second test would make people lose their nature and reason. It was the most difficult of all the tests. Su Jojo helped him pass this test, so it was no longer an extravagant hope to practice the Chiyu evil skill. He was already in the early stage of nature's test. If he could reach the late stage of nature's test before the last test, the power of the 7th test would probably make his combat power jump 3 levels and rush into the realm of Junior Emperor. At that time, Anhui Valley would not be able to restrain him. Xianyu blinked and looked at the scenery on the top of the mountain. Did they arrive? Master clearly said that it would be very difficult to keep the top 10 on the Tianjiao list this time. How could it be so easy? You guys, what are you standing there for? Su Li bowed her head and focused on picking her nails. She said casually, I will take the top 3. You can discuss the rest. Yin Xuedong opened her eyes slightly. She almost thought that she had heard it wrong. She called in her heart, Spirit of the Secret Realm, does Su Jojo's method conform to the rules of the Tianjiao battle? Spirit of the Secret Realm? Silence answered her. The Spirit of the Secret Realm, who had always been impartial, actually remained silent. Yin Xuedong stared incredulously at Su Li, who was still picking her nails in the distance. How'd she do it? Feng Mu scratched his head and looked at Yin Xuedong, who had not fully recovered from her injury. He said honestly, Sister Xuedong, shall we have a fight? Yin Xuedong was so angry that she laughed and rolled her eyes. I admit defeat. Mu, you have also learned bad things. It's all because you taught me well. Feng Mu put the blame on Feng Yuan, and then looked at Ban Xian and Xian Yuer. Ban Xian waved his hand again and again, revealing his white teeth. It's enough for me to be in the top 10. If I rank high, the world will not recognize me. I'm too young, like Brother Ban. Xian Yuer continued. Master said that if I get the 10th place, I can keep Xiyun House from declining. This is the prodigy role. Why are all of you being so humble? Su Li raised her head and pointed at Feng Mu and Chu Qingning. How about a fight? The fighting desire in Feng Mu's eyes immediately burned. He stared at Chu Qingning, who had a gloomy face, and said, That's what I mean. The atmosphere instantly became tense. Chu Qingning sat cross-legged on the cold stone surface and raised his head. Feng Mu's face was reflected in his blue-gray dead eyes. After a moment of silence, he suddenly revealed a long-lost smile. Such a smile did not belong to the great holy son of Anhui Valley, but Chu Qingning, who was a dabbler in the reincarnation mirror. It was a hearty, evil, and off-key smile. Feng Mu was stunned at once. I admit defeat. Chu Qingning seemed to throw out a sentence casually. Then he stopped smiling, lowered his head again, and fell into silence. Chu Qingning is really recovering. Yin Xuedong's eyes flashed. In Song Lei's cave, Chu Qingning had been sleeping, or pretending to be asleep. She could not talk to him. Su Bai's words were still ringing in her ears. My sister's order is to wash away the evil thoughts in his body and not to hurt his life. Why did Su Jiuzhou save him? She obviously hated the holy sex very much. Oh, you don't want to fight. How about I decide the ranking? Su Li looked up with a smile and called the names one by one. Fong Mu is the 4th. Chu Qingming is the 5th. Yin Xuedong is the 6th. Ban Xian is the 8th. And Xian Yuer is the 9th. How about it? As for the 10th place, let them fight for it. We have to leave some hope for others. Everyone, Xian Yuer looked puzzled. Senior Su, is there still a 7th place missing? Ban Xian looked back at Xian Yuer in surprise. How could she call Su Jiuzhou Senior so naturally? Did she find something? Holy girl Xian, just call me fellow practitioner Su. Su Li's eyes flashed, and she still smiled. The 7th place is reserved for a junior to give him some encouragement. I see. I'm being rude, fellow practitioner Su. Xian Yuer sensed the strange eyes cast by others and did not dare to say more. Whoosh, with a gust of wind, a mountain road appeared, and a cyan figure came out, which surprised everyone. It seems that I'm not late. Before everyone had time to speak, another mountain road appeared, and a figure jumped out, which shocked everyone even more. He said unwillingly, After all, I'm still one step behind you. Emo, Yin Zai, how dare you come here? Fong Mu and Chu Qingning almost shouted at the same time. When Chu Qingning, who had been depressed, heard this, he suddenly raised his head and looked at the two people who suddenly appeared. Then a flash of lightning flashed in his mind. He turned back and stared at Su Li's face. His eyes were mixed with surprise, gratitude, guilt, and regret. All kinds of complex emotions were mixed together, which were hard to describe in words. Was it her? Only she could explain why she was hostile to the holy sex, and why she chose to let them go after catching the 3 of them. She even helped him cross the tribulation. She still didn't change. She was always cold on the outside and warm on the inside. But compared with the occasionally playful owner of the Leanly building, she seemed to be indifferent now. Chu Qingning had complex thoughts and finally buried everything in the bottom of his heart. So what if it was her? So what if it wasn't her? Now that things had come to this, what right did he have to approach her? Everyone long time no see. Ling Qinglan nodded and said hello with a distant smile on his face. My name is Ling Qinglan. I belong to the NI sect. Not EMO, don't call my name wrong in the future. He walked to Su Li and stood still. Yin Zai also followed. When he saw the old acquaintances, he snorted coldly and didn't bother to say hello. According to the agreement, Ling Qinglan is the 2nd. Zai, do you have any objection? Su Li turned her eyes and fell on the 2. Yin Zai waved his hand and smiled. You have to accept the loss. The 3rd place and the 2nd place are 2 different. The top 3 are all ours. Then it's settled. After Su Li said that, she secretly transmitted the sound to the spirit of the secret realm. The list of the last Tianjiao list was set by Tianyake Attic. This time I can do it. Later, when someone reaches the top of the mountain before the deadline, I will let them prove their strength. Can the spirit of the secret realm forbid killing? No prohibition. The voice of the spirit of the secret realm sounded quickly. Although it was still emotionless, Su Li heard a hint of relief in it. Su Li curled her lips slightly. It's best not to affect you. There may be opportunities for cooperation later. I will personally find out the truth about Ling Qingshui's death. After all, Ling Qingshui was dead. The end of the divine awareness was the best proof. Thank you. As long as you don't do too much, I won't have too much backlash. Su Jiuzhou, remember my name. I am a magic treasure that follows the master. My name is Demon Suppressing. Hearing this, Su Li was relieved. She closed her eyes and transmitted the sound to Ling Qinglan and Yin Zai. You solve the rest by yourselves. Ling Qinglan and Yin Zai looked at each other and found a place to sit down, waiting for someone to come. Yin Xuedong sat with Fong Mu and others. She glanced at Su Li from time to time. At this moment, her mind was no longer on the Tianjiao battle. It was not a secret in the intelligence system of the holy sects that Ling Qinglan's soul was divided after he returned to the sect. Not only Yin Xuedong, but but also the four holy sects should know it clearly. In the face of such a situation, she couldn't change it at all. She once fantasized that one day the Yin tribe was destroyed. Although she couldn't bring Ling Qinglan back to life, she could free him. Then suddenly one day, the fantasy became a reality. The Yin tribe was really destroyed, and the familiar Ling Qinglan was standing in front of her alive. The destruction of the Yin tribe must have something to do with Su Jiuzhou and the Ni sect. Which old man is behind her? Yin Shuodong thought a lot. Unconsciously, for hours passed quickly. At the entrance of the mountaintop, another mountain road finally appeared. A tall and thin young man in black appeared on the edge of the mountaintop. When he saw that there were nearly 10 people on the mountaintop, he couldn't help but be stunned. What was going on? Not to mention the first holy son of the holy sects. How could he not know someone? This was Su Jiuzhou. When the young man in black saw Su Li, he frowned and thought of the portrait and analysis shown to him by the elder. Su Jiuzhou is likely to be from the same sect as the two strange male practitioners. He turned his gaze and saw the two people beside her. When he saw one of them was looking at him with a smile, he instantly trembled and was completely stunned. Was he dreaming? No. Did he enter the illusion, and this was not the mountaintop? The young man looked vigilant. Yinzai couldn't help but laugh and transmitted the sound with a smile. Silly boy, what are you thinking? This is the mountaintop. Come over and let me have a good look at you. This young man was none other than Zhou Linfeng. Hearing Yinzai's familiar tone, Zhou Linfeng's eyes were slightly red, but he still walked forward a few steps with vigilance. After confirming that there was no trap, he couldn't help but quickly stood in front of Yinzai. Senior fellow apprentice. Zhou Linfeng's throat rolled, and he shouted loudly. Yinzai also showed excitement in his eyes, but he still scratched his ears in disgust. Do you want to make me deaf by shouting so loudly? Zhou Linfeng scratched his head, and his original cold face melted like spring water. He giggled and said with a choked voice, Senior fellow apprentice, is it really you? Am I dreaming? Silly boy, I'm not dead. Of course, I can still appear in front of you. Yinzai patted the back of Zhou Linfeng's head fiercely and said with a smile, I don't have to hide in the future. I will jump around everywhere. Hee hee. I'm afraid that those old guys in the sect will be so angry that they will jump out to kill me. You don't have to cry tears of joy when you see me. Maybe we will stand on the opposite side in the future and have a good fight. I won't fight with you. Zhou Linfeng immediately became excited. I will go with you. I don't want to be a holy son at all. The latest chapter of Poisonous Wife, the full text of Poisonous Wife, the download of Poisonous Wife, the Poisonous Wife. For convenience next time, you can click Collect below to record this time, Chapter 590. You can see it next time you open the bookshelf. If you like Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 591. You can search Poisonous Wife in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. Idiot, you don't want to be the holy son, but run for your life with me? Yinzai scolded angrily, but there was joy and helplessness in his eyes. How could he not want to reunite with his junior fellow apprentice? But it was too difficult. What's wrong with that? Zhou Linfeng, if you want to renounce darkness for light, I can give you a chance. Su Li suddenly opened her eyes and said, Yinzai suddenly felt embarrassed. Are you in too much of a hurry? With my example, I'm afraid it's not easy for Xiaofeng to leave the sect. It doesn't matter. I will go to the Void Sword sect to collect some interest. Su Li stared at Yinzai with a rare, serious look. Yinzai, don't look down on yourself. You should understand where you are now. In the future, your status will only be higher than that of the Lord of the Void Sword sect. It's time to correct your mentality. Yinzai lowered his head in shame. You're right, Master. Master? Zhou Linfeng was angry that Su Li dared to teach his senior fellow apprentice a lesson. But when he heard the word master, he was puzzled. At the same time, the relevant memory quickly awakened, and his eyes slightly widened. You are Holy Girl Su? The reaction of the three from the holy sects was much greater. Almost at the moment when they heard the word, the three stared at Su Li's face. wanting to see her reaction. Su Li looked at Zhou Linfeng with a plain smile. Does it matter whether I am or not? Your senior fellow apprentice follows me and wants to overthrow the Fate Palace. So, do you choose to stay in the holy sects or betray and join my NI sect? Zhou Linfeng's eyes darkened. Can you make the decision? As soon as he said this, Yin Zai gave him a slap on the head. How can you talk to Master? Master is the lord of NI sect. If she doesn't make the decision, should I? If you disrespect Master in the future, I won't spare you. Zhou Linfeng nodded aggrievedly and looked at Su Li without speaking, but the determination in his eyes had already shown everything. The Void Sword sect has really suffered a double loss. Ban Xian said sarcastically. 2 holy sons have been abducted at once. I wonder if their patriarch will regret his decision to participate in the Life Palace plan when he finds out. Since that is the case, you will occupy the 7th position on the Proud Son of Heaven ranking. That way, you will have an explanation when you return. I will go to the Void Sword sect, and then I will tell you what to do. Before I go, don't make any unusual movements, understand? Su Li transmitted the sound secretly. Zhou Linfeng's eyes brightened, and he nodded slightly. After that, Zhou Linfeng sat next to Yin Zai, and the two of them transmitted their voices to each other, talking about the various things that had happened in the sect in the past few years. After waiting for a long time for the next person to arrive at the summit of the mountain, he finally couldn't help but carefully transmit his voice. Senior brother, why is the ranking of the genius battle decided by the Mister? Yin Zai smiled. Mister's methods aren't something a kid like you can understand. Don't be fooled by the fact that these saints' sons and saintesses of the Peak Saints sect had arrived long ago. In fact, they were all captured by Mister. That works? Zhou Linfeng was shocked. Suddenly, he thought of something and looked around. He didn't see the Emperor of Evil. This Mister must be the Emperor of Evil. No one knew the temperament of his senior brother better than him. Otherwise, if it was someone else, his senior brother would not bow to him like this. But he felt strange. Didn't Mister's soul disappear in the past? Why did he come back to life? And his bone age was less than 100 years old? What kind of sect was an sect? There seemed to be too many stories that he didn't understand. Zhou Linfeng seemed to be dull, but he was actually smart. He kept silent rationally about his thoughts and didn't even tell his senior brother. It was his life principle not to make trouble for his senior brother. Time passed and the crowd's waiting. In the blink of an eye, the 3rd day was over. There were only 2 hours left. More and more people reached the summit immediately. Buzz! 2 mountain roads appeared. Zhao Qianyuan and Ling Xian arrived almost at the same time. At the moment when the two appeared, Yin Zai and Ling Qinglan suddenly opened their eyes. Yin Zai's eyes were full of killing intent. He stared at the two without turning his head. You are Zhao Qianyuan, and I am Ling Xian. How about you? I'm fine with either. Before Ling Qinglan finished his words, his figure had disappeared in an instant. Yin Zai was excited. When he was about to follow Ling Xian, a black shadow suddenly flashed in front of him. He was stunned. Master, I'll do it myself, Su Li said calmly. Then she disappeared in a flash. Boom! Ling Qinglan made a gesture with both hands. At this moment, he didn't need to hide his identity. He finally took out the magic treasure that he found again, Yin Yang Fan. Go! As Ling Qinglan spat, the cyan fan spun and shot out countless needles. Before the needles reached Zhao Qianyuan, he felt a stinging pain in his face. My defense magic treasure doesn't work. Is that a holy treasure? Zhao Qianyuan's expression changed slightly. Without saying anything, he took out a skull that emitted cold air and threw it into the air. When the skull rotated, it seemed to be alive. It opened and closed its mouth. Zhao Qianyuan spat out a mouthful of blood, which dyed the skull red. The skull immediately emitted cold light and blocked all the needles. It opened its bloody mouth and roared to bite Ling Qinglan. Ling Qinglan lowered his eyes and recited a spell. The yin-yang fan opened, revealing the landscape picture in it. A suction force was generated out of thin air. Oh no! Zhao Qianyuan's expression changed greatly. But he had no time to take back the skull. He watched the skull being swallowed by the fan. This magic treasure has such a strange change after leaving the reincarnation mirror. Zhao Qinyuan's expression changed, and he regretted. If he didn't retreat at that time and went to the reincarnation mirror to get a share, he wouldn't be at a disadvantage. After returning to the sect, I must interrogate that bitch if she also hid a holy treasure. At the moment when this thought flashed through his mind, Zhao Qinyuan suddenly shivered. A sense of death suddenly shrouded him. How dare you be absent-minded at this time? Ling Qinglan's voice almost came close to his ears. Just now, he was several feet away from me. How could he be so fast? Zhao Qinyuan's scalp was numb. He released the protective spiritual shield in a panic. But Ling Qinglan's fist was faster than the spiritual shield. It directly hit Zhao Qinyuan's chest. One punch, 100% strength. Boom! Zhao Qinyuan's eyes darkened and he spat out blood. At the moment when his chest was hit, it was directly sunken. His internal organs were directly stirred up under the violent shock. This was not the end. Ling Qinglan directly hit his head with another punch. Bang! Zhao Qinyuan's head was broken like a watermelon. The red and white parts exploded into a ball. Even his soul was shattered. A fatal blow. It seemed to be a long time, but in fact, it was only a few seconds. Zhao Qinyuan died on the spot. His strength is above me. Yin Xuedong had mixed feelings. She was a little envious, but not because of Ling Qinglan's strength. She envied him because he was fighting for her instead of living like a puppet like her. At the same time, Su Li had been less than a foot away from Ling Xian and stood still. Ling Xian didn't care about the arrival of Su Li. She glanced at the top of the mountain and found no trace of Ling Li. Her beautiful face immediately became gloomy. She clenched her teeth and looked back at Su Li, who was standing in front of her and looking at her calmly. She sneered coldly. Su Jiuzhou, you dare stop me? You climbed to the top of the mountain before me. Who do you think you are? Su Li's eyes were calm. She said softly, do you want to go down by yourself, or do you want me to help you? Ling Xian showed contempt in her eyes. You? Su Li nodded gently. Me? You are courting death. Ling Xian's eyes were cold. She waved thousands of purple silk threads, which contained infinite killing intent, and cut to Su Li's face. Freeze! Su Li was as calm as a pool of stagnant water. As she said one word, an invisible ripple spread from her body in an instant. The evil ghost in the depths of her pupils suddenly opened its eyes. The purple silk thread that Ling Xian waved was shattered by an invisible force before it reached half an inch around Su Li's body, and it fell down. Ling Xian's face was slightly pale. The countershot came without any warning. Her wrist was shocked, and a lavender pocket-sized horsetail whisk fell to the ground. Then, the surrounding space suddenly seemed to have come to life, squeezing towards her. Ling Xian was shocked. She had no time to take back the magic treasure. She retreated quickly and screamed in her heart. I am not this woman's opponent. I am far from being her opponent. Impossible. I am the protagonist of this era. No one is my opponent except Ling Li, who is controlled by the master. Ling Xian stared at Su Li, who was expressionless. Her beautiful face became a little ferocious. Do you want to escape? Su Li took a step and appeared in front of Ling Li in a flash. She was less than 1 foot away from him. The space was constantly squeezed. Ling Xian barely held up the protective magic treasure, but it was all broken in less than 1 breath. The narrow space made it more and more difficult for her to move, but the arrogance in her eyes still did not fade away. Which undying existence are you? Reincarnating in another's body? Don't you know my master's name? If you dare to hurt me, you will affect the layout of the master for tens of thousands of years. I don't need to remind you what will happen, right? Your master? Su Li slowly clenched her fingers into a fist. The space was almost compressed into a thin piece of paper. Ling Xian spat out a mouthful of blood painfully. The bones in her chest were all broken and sunken. Who is it? I'm rather ignorant. Can our great prodigy Ling explain it to me? The omnipresent force of compression acted on every part of Ling Xian's body. Ling Xian could hear the sound of her bones being overwhelmed. Her face was twisted in pain, but she was still stubborn. "You are dead, my master." Su Li's eyes were cold, and she suddenly clenched her fists. The sudden sharp pain went deep into her soul. Ling Xian couldn't stop screaming, but Su Li didn't let her go. She still clenched her fists, until Ling Xian finally showed fear in her eyes. Su Li slowly loosened her hands, showed an unchanging smile, and whispered, "You have another chance." The feeling of dying finally made Ling Xian completely sober. This woman was a lunatic. She had to beg for mercy. "Senior, I'm sorry. My master is Fate Ancestor. You should have heard of his name. If you can let me go, I will not mention what happened today to my master." Fate Ancestor? Su Li showed fear and hesitation on her face. Is he the Fate Ancestor who plotted the reincarnation mirror and the Daughter of Luck? The latest chapter of The Poisonous Wife. The full text of The Poisonous Wife. The download of The Poisonous Wife. The Poisonous Wife was reading on her mobile phone. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click Collection below to record this time. Chapter 591. Next time you open the bookshelf, you can see it. If you like The Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 592. You can search Poisonous Wife in Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. Seeing Su Li's expression finally changed, Ling Xian was relieved and immediately admitted, "It's the master." He wanted to seize the creation of heaven and earth. If there were no accidents, he would have been an immortal. Now, even if he is not, he has surpassed all the existences in Qingshui, Circle, and is the strongest in the world. After she finished, Su Li, who was looking forward to it, seemed to have seen the scene where Ling Xian broke into a cold sweat and immediately let go of the confinement to apologize to her. "Ha ha ha," Su Li laughed in a low voice. There was no fear on her face, but more peace and joy. "What are you laughing at?" Ling Xian's heart thumped, and her voice trembled unconsciously. "Of course I'm happy." Su Li pinched Ling Xian's mouth and said in a gentle tone, "Thank you for telling me that I didn't find the wrong person." "What? You did it on purpose." Ling Xian's pupils shrank, but Su Li didn't give her a chance to speak. She made a gesture to seal her directly and threw her into a corner of Song Lei's cave. She didn't deserve to be treated by Su Bai. She was just seriously injured and wouldn't die for a while. After doing all this, Su Li had time to turn her attention to another woman in sword robe who had just climbed to the top of the mountain. Seeing Su Li looking at her, the woman in sword robe immediately retreated a few steps with fear and said in a slow tone, "Su Jiuzhou, I only occupy the last life on the Tianjiao list. You and I have no conflict." The implication was that there was no need for her to make another enemy. "She's Fong Lan from Shunbei Holy Sect." Yin Zai reminded her in time and said directly, she was not qualified to be a holy girl, but Su Qingtan and Su Qinghao betrayed the sect. I heard from the Taiyak attic that they were chased by the divine North Holy Sect at that time and made a big noise. If they hadn't escaped into the Yinyang region and disappeared for many years, Shinbei Holy Sect wouldn't have given up so easily. "I see." Su Li smiled, just like when she abused Ling Xian before. "Do you still want to say that I have no conflict with you?" "You are." Yin, whose soul has been seized. When Fong Lan saw Yin Zai, she suddenly turned pale and fled without saying a word. She didn't even want to be on the Tianjiao list. But no matter how fast she was not as fast as Su Li. Fong Lan only felt that her vision was blurred and her head was hit hard. She lost consciousness and was taken into Song Lei's cave. This scene happened so fast that when Yin Shuodong woke up from the shock of Ling Xian being trapped, everything was over. Su Li returned to the altar, sat down, and closed her eyes to rest. Dealing with these heaven's favorites was already within her expectations. Her heart did not waver at all. If they could not even deal with these juniors, how could they fight against the many holy clans led by the Life Palace? There's less than an hour left, but there's still one person missing. Fong Mu couldn't help but mutter. One of the three people who came up later was killed by Su Jiuzhou and the others. and the other two were caught. It meant that there were no more people. For Ling Xian's experience, Feng Mu and the other two people reacted surprisingly unanimously. Blind eye. Ling Xian was always superior to others because of her identity as the disciple of the Fate ancestor. She even looked down on them. Now seeing that Ling Xian was beaten so miserably by Su Li, they were very happy in addition to worrying about the purpose of the Ni sect. Little Mu, don't you think something is wrong? Even Ling Xian has arrived at the top of the mountain, but that person has not appeared yet. In Xuedong looked at the empty edge of the mountain and secretly transmitted the sound. Feng Mu also felt strange in his heart, but how could he know what happened in the Shengxian mountain? Perhaps the idea of instigating Su Li to be the enemy of Ling Li worked. Feng Mu suddenly froze and then transmitted the sound, Sister Xuedong, maybe is it possible that Su Jiuzhou encountered him in the Shengxian mountain? Do you think so too? In Xuedong's eyebrows relaxed. It's very possible. And according to Su Jiuzhou's means to Chu Qingning, if she meets Ling Li, her means must be more fierce. Even Ling Li is in her cave, but he has not been released. In Xuedong thought quickly. Who is Su Jiuzhou? This was a question that she had not been able to answer up until now, and it was still troubling her at this moment. There's only one possibility. She is the reincarnation of an old monster, so she can master such a terrible power at the age of less than 100 years old. Collecting Su in the reincarnation mirror, her former subordinates, is to achieve a certain purpose. She is very likely to have a grudge against Fate Ancestor, and even is a person of Fate Ancestor's era. The more In Xuedong thought about it, the closer she felt she was to the truth. She had never thought that Su Jiuzhou was Su Li, but was it possible? Su Li's predecessor was just the holy girl of Yushu's sect, and her life had been controlled by others since she was born. She had no trump card in her hand to turn the tables. The only accident was that she used her death to destroy the chess game that Fate Ancestor had painstakingly worked on and caused a terrible bloody disaster. It was precisely because of this that her name was known to everyone. Otherwise, Su Li was just a pawn that Fate Ancestor threw away after using, without any sense of existence. That was the past tense. In Xuedong sighed and rubbed her temples with a headache. Why did she worry about this? She would only be happy if Fate Ancestor was in trouble. Although the purpose is not pure, I don't know if Su Li will feel a little gratified in heaven after knowing that someone avenged her. Chu Qingming glanced at Su Li, who was calm, and quickly withdrew his gaze. He didn't have so many twists and turns as In Xuedong did. He only acted according to his feelings, and his feelings told him that Su Jiuzhou was Su Li. She crawled out of hell. All the people who carried the sins could not escape. Chu Qingming curled his lips, and a figure flashed in his mind. His eyes were instantly full of hatred. It is said that you killed her son with your own hands. After the Tianjiao battle, there will be a storm of blood in Qingshui's circle. Are you ready? Everyone had a myriad of thoughts. Unconsciously, the 3-day period was coming to an end. There were many talents waiting at the top of the mountain. Those who had participated in the reincarnation mirror that year were all caught by Su Li. Although the remaining disciples of the sect did not participate in the matter of that year, they saw Su Li's iron-blooded means, so no one dared to occupy the 10th place of the Tianjiao battle. There is still a quarter of an hour left. It seems that Jiang Run has no chance. Yin Zai scratched his head. In this way, it seems impossible for Jiguang's sect to become a holy sect. Su Li opened her eyes. Wait a little longer. Time passed by. When there were only a few dozens of breaths left in the 3-day period, Jiang Run miraculously appeared at the top of the mountain. He looked at the crowd with a blank face. How could he be in the ancestral hall a moment ago, and then on the top of the mountain a moment later? Was the last sentence of the clan rule, right? Thinking of what he said, Jiang Run even temporarily forgot the joy of reaching the top of the mountain, and his heart was cold. You are good. How do you feel to catch up with the last place? Yin Zai came over, put his arm around his shoulder, and said with a smile, You are the 10th on the Tianjiao list. Why are you not happy at all? Hearing this, Jiang Run finally came to his senses. What? I'm obviously the last one to come up. Here. He looked around, and there were 20 or 30 people looking at him with envy and fear. What was going on? Don't ask so many questions. Yin Zai smiled and said with great pity, the time has come. The Tianjiao list is refreshed outside. I really want to see the faces of those old ancestors of holy sections. Hearing this, everyone's face suddenly darkened. Although this guy had lost the halo of the holy son of the Void Sword sect, why did he still talk like that? Zai, it's time to go. Suli opened her eyes and put a universe ring that appeared in the altar into the space of the Black Lotus ring. Then she turned and walked to the exit passage opened by the spirit of the secret realm. Ling Qinglan and Yin Zai immediately followed. Jiang Run followed at the end with a blank face. Although he still didn't know anything, he always felt it was safer to leave with them. Alas, I was cheated. Ban Qian sighed. It was clearly said that he would understand everything in these 2 days. Why did he leave directly? Anyway, it is already a great achievement to be in the top 10 of the Tianjiao list and not the last one. Besides, there are so many trial rewards given by fellow practitioner Su. This trip is not a loss. Ban Qian flicked his sleeves and flashed into the passage. Yin Xuedong's eyes flashed. She deliberately kept some distance from Fong Mu and floated into the passage. Sister Xuetong. Fong Mu sighed in his heart, hid the complexity in his eyes, and also rushed into the passage. Chu Qingning didn't say a word and went straight into the passage. After all of them had left, the prodigies in the first and second echelon heaved a sigh of relief and disappeared into their respective passageways. At the same time, when the talents left the Shengxian mountain, the Tianjiao list, which was expected by countless practitioners in the Shengxian city, finally began to show words. It's starting. It's starting. The dense practitioners on the street were excited and pointed at the giant stone tablet halfway up the mountain. Every face was full of excitement and expectation, and many disciples of sects were staring at the list nervously for fear of missing any name. This was a moment to witness the change of the millennium history. It was also a moment to witness the sharpness of the future giants. Every name on the Tianjiao list would be the future of Qingshui's circle. Line after line of words appeared, starting from the 10,000. The names of the talents and the origins of the sects were densely packed. Senior Fellow Apprentice is on the list. He ranks 8888. Great. Senior Fellow Apprentice. Great. My Senior Fellow Apprentice is also on the list. Senior Fellow Apprentice is so awesome. How could it be possible? My Senior Fellow Apprentice is so powerful, but he didn't make it to the top 5,000. I didn't find his name. Now it has shown up to the 4,000th place. Our sect is finished. Some people were happy, and some people were worried. For a time, the Shengxian city was full of joy, anger, sorrow, joy, laughter, anger, and scolding. It's just a few thousand places. Why are you so excited? A group of nonentities. The disciples of the holy sects sitting in the attics were full of disdain and confidence. They had no doubt that the Holy Son would win glory for the sect. The latest chapter of The Poisonous Wife, the full text of The Poisonous Wife, the download of The Poisonous Wife, The Poisonous Wife. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click collect below to record this time, chapter 592. Next time you open the bookshelf, you can see it. If you like The Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 593. You can search for Poisonous Wife on Baidu. Search for the latest chapter. Number 11 on the Genius list. Lu Xian from the Holy Snow Sect. There was no change in the rankings until the top 10 on the Genius list appeared. Number 10 on the Genius list, Anai Sect, Jiang Run. A line of golden characters appeared at the bottom of the giant stone list halfway up the immortal Shengxian mountain. It stirred up 1,000 waves. Who is Jiang Run? What kind of sect was Anai's sect? Everyone was stunned. The first to reveal the top 10 on the Genius list turned out to be an unknown sect. There had never been such a sect since ancient times. Jiang Run? Could he be one of those two dark horses? Xianyu, from the Xian house, is too young and may not be his match. When the elders of the merciful Cloud House heard this, they all frowned. I don't think eldest senior sister will be defeated so easily. She is a disciple personally trained by the Grand Supreme Master, which is unique in our house. A disciple of the Xian house who came to watch the battle was unconvinced. Even if she can't defeat Jiangran, she won't be kicked off the list. Eldest senior sister must have a magic treasure bestowed by the Grand Supreme Master. How can she die so easily? Before he finished speaking, the words of the 9th place on the genius list began to appear. Number 9 on the genius list, Xianyu from the Xian house. The elder's brows instantly relaxed, and he beamed with joy. The elder with the highest qualifications to lead the team's side in his heart. The Grand Supreme Master made the right move. Something's not right. In the pavilion booked by the Wind Thunder Holy Sect and the Holy Snow Sect, Elder Zhang, he looked uncertain. Third Brother Liu, the number of people on the genius list is wrong. The third elder of the Holy Snow Sect, Lu Lin, did not correct Zhang He's way of addressing him this time. Instead, he nodded and said in a deep voice, "The number has exceeded the limit. There are 8 places left on the genius list, but the Peak Holy Sect has occupied 5. Then there are Zhao Qianyuan from the Han Sect, Fong Lan from the Divine North Holy Sect, Luo Hong from the Shura Holy Sect, Zhou Linfeng from the Void Sword Sect, Ban Xian from our sect, and the 2 people that have been announced. There are a total of 12 people." A trace of worry appeared on Zhang He's face. The number had exceeded the limit. There was only one possibility. Among these 12 people, someone had fallen. Thinking of this conjecture, Zhang He's heart couldn't help but tighten. The next ranking would be announced soon. Ban Qian, with his strength, it was unlikely for him to obtain high ranking. If Zhang He did not dare to think any further. Number 8 on the prodigy ranking, Zhang, he raised his head and stared at the rankings, holding his breath. Wind Thunder Saint Sect, Ban Qian. Whoosh! Zhang, he let out a long sigh of relief, his face turning from white to red. Lu Lin smiled and patted his shoulder. Congratulations, the Wind Lightning Saint Sect is still the Wind Lightning Saint Sect. Zhang, he nodded with a complicated expression. Ban Qian did a good job. Something must have happened in the battle of the Immortal Ascension Mountain. Ban Qian being able to get the 8th place was already a pleasant surprise. He remembered that during the selection of the Son of Saint, he had voted against Ban Qian. For a moment, his heart was filled with complicated feelings. Maybe I should be nicer to him in the future. It's rare to find a saint who's approachable. Zhang He's thinking changed, and the tense atmosphere in the pavilion was swept away. Lu Lin stroked his beard and chuckled, taking pleasure in others' misfortune. Next, no matter which sect the Son of Saint dies, it's not a trivial matter. If he dies, he dies. Zhang He also laughed and scolded in a low voice. A group of short-sighted people. If they follow the fate ancestor, they will die sooner or later. Lu Lin nodded in agreement. Since the Holy Snow Sect and the Wind Lightning Saint Sect could find it, the other holy sects naturally also noticed that something was wrong. For a moment, the atmosphere was much more tense than before. Which Son of Saint died? In the heated discussion on the street, the ranking of the Tianjiao list continued to appear. The 7th on the Tianjiao list, Zhou Linfeng of the Void Sword Sect. The elder of the Void Sword Sect breathed a sigh of relief, and the cold sweat on his forehead evaporated. He had stood against the opinions of the masses to let Zhou Linfeng take the position of the Son of Saint. If Zhou Linfeng really died, his position as an elder would come to an end. Fortunately, not only did Zhou Linfeng not die, but he also got the 7th place. Very good. The 6th on the Tianjiao list, Yin Xuedong of the Huangxing Hall. When this line of handwriting appeared, the crowd suddenly burst into more heated discussions than before. Even they knew that something was wrong. How is it possible that the Peak Holy Sect only got the 6th place? What's going on in this Tianjiao battle? Why do I feel that Su Jiuzhou squeezed out of place, so the Peak Holy Sect fell out of the ranking? It's impossible. No matter how powerful Su Jiuzhou is, Can she be more powerful than the evil emperor? She has mastered the sword intent. Ha! Zhang, he laughed out loud. I know that the Peak Holy Sect is going to be unlucky. The ranking is a big problem. Lu Lin smiled without saying anything and continued to read. The fifth on the Tianjiao list, Chu Qingning of the Ankue Valley. The fourth on the Tianjiao list, Fang Mu of the Tianhe sect. The elders of the Ankue Valley and the Huangxing Hall almost frowned together. Why did they all fall out of the top three? How can Mu maintain the top four with his temperament? The elder of the Tianhe sect widened his eyes in surprise. He originally thought that with the lad's mischievous temperament, it would be good if he could get into the top 10. Is it possible that Mu finally became sensible after Yuan disappeared? The elder of the Tianhe sect remembered that Fang Mu resisted the position of the Holy Sun in those years, and there were tears in his old eyes. He was greatly relieved. He picked up the tea on the table and looked at the Tianjiao list happily. Although it was a little inappropriate for the two people of the Shengtian Shrine to occupy the top three, the words of the top three on the Tianjiao list began to appear. Puff! He didn't drink a mouthful of tea after all and sprayed it out. The elder of the Tianhe sect stared at the Tianjiao list blankly. His hands trembled violently, and he didn't know that all the tea was poured on his lapel. Now, something big is going to happen. The third on the Tianjiao list, Yin Zai of the Ni sect. The second on the Tianjiao list, Ling Qinglan of the Ni sect. The first on the Tianjiao list, Su Jiuzhou of the Ni sect. Absolutely. The top three on the Tianjiao list appeared at the same time. The three familiar and strange names of the sects were like world-ending thunder in the night, blinding everyone's eyes. The whole immortal Ascension city seemed to be stagnant suddenly. The hustle and bustle stopped abruptly, and there was a dead silence. The dead silence lasted for a long time. Someone laughed twice, which awakened all the people who were in a trance. My God, senior brother, what's going on? Am I dreaming? Dreams are not so exaggerated. Junior fellow apprentice, pinch me. Ah, everyone was crazy. In the attic booked by the Shangtian Shrine, the elder slumped in his seat and then suddenly sat up like a corpse. He sent out a carrier rune tremblingly. The Emperor of Evil and the Holy Girl are both missing. The Tianjiao list is changing. Come quickly. The actions of the other sects, where all the Holy Sons and Holy Girls disappeared, were surprisingly consistent with the actions of the elder of the Shengtian Shrine. Zhang He and Lu Lin stared at the Tianjiao list blankly, and their expressions were surprisingly consistent. After a long time, Zhang He came to his senses and smiled bitterly. Qing Shui's circle is going to be lively. Lu Xian's eyes flickered. Let's go back to the Tianyain, find Ban Xian and Lu Xian, and leave the immortal Ascension city quickly. In the Tianyain, Xia Wei burned a stick of incense. Before she finished praying, she saw Xiaoxi running in a panic. Tianya Master, something bad happened. The people of Shangtian Shrine are gone. An I sect occupies the top three. No, they occupy 4 of the top 10 places. The whole immortal Ascension city is crazy. Clang. The incense burner was directly overturned from the offering table to the ground. Xia Wei felt a little dizzy and waved her sleeves to throw the burning incense far away. It was useless to pray to the gods. When Xia Wei arrived at the scene and saw the dazzling golden light in the top 3 places, her face was darker than the bottom of a pot. The situation was much more serious than what Xiaoxi said. Not only the 2 big troubles of Shangtian Shrine were gone, but what about Zhao Qianyuan of Han's sect, Fang Lan of Divine North Holy Sect, Luo Hong of Shura Holy Sect? 5 holy sons and holy virgins were gone at once. Xia Wei's face was pale. Xiaoxi, let's go back to the Tianya sect now. He had to withdraw before the arrival of these holy sections. Otherwise, those furious old men would skin him alive. There's still a lot of information in the Tianya sect. Don't bother to pack up. The important things are all on me. Let's go. After they were transmitted out, they were not at the bottom of Immortal Ascension Mountain, but in the spring courtyard of their inn. Lord Jiuzhou, How did my sect become NI sect? Jiang Run scratched his head and asked. Su Li smiled slightly. Next, the Holy Sect's revenge must be crazy. Are you sure you want to use the name of Jiguang sect? Jiang Run's face changed instantly. It should be crazy outside, right? Yin Zai smiled brightly. Cool. After holding back for so many years, I can finally hold my head high. It's so cool. Ling Qinglan looked at his complacent look and shook his head. He was too unsteady. Qinglan, have you got in touch with them? Su Li's eyes flickered. Although her plan was foolproof, who could guarantee that there would be no accidents? Ling Qinglan rarely saw her tense face. He finally saw the human side of her. Surprisingly, he was a little happy and nodded. He said, some of them also sneaked into Immortal Ascension City and contacted me as soon as they got the news. They are more anxious than us. Su Li's eyes flickered. She walked to the door with her hands behind her back and looked at the still, dark sky outside. Well, that's good. Next, according to the plan, all of you leave immediately. Hua Shichen didn't know what the plan was. He was stunned and asked, shall we go too? Elder Hua can follow us. Yin Zai came over with a smile and patted him on the shoulder. Our master is an elder of your holy land. We are a family, aren't we? Hua Shichen smiled bitterly. Even the Holy Land was trapped by Su Jiuzhou. He was just an elder of Jiguang's sect and couldn't change anything. That's great. I will tell my father when I go back. He must be very happy. Shannon was excited. In recent years, the Leanly building had been hiding like a mouse, and he was very angry. Now he suddenly had a backer, and his sister was very good to him. It was simply a realization of his life dream. The shuttle is ready. Dongfang Wuxue came in from the outside and said with a strange face, I just passed the front door of the inn and wanted to say goodbye, but I didn't see Xie Wei and Xiaoxi. The latest chapter of The Poisonous Wife, the full text of The Poisonous Wife, the download address of The Poisonous Wife. The Poisonous Wife was reading on the mobile phone. For the convenience of reading next time, you can click Collection below to record this time. Chapter 593. Chapter 593. You can see it when you open the bookshelf next time. If you like The Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. Chapter 594. You can search Poisonous Wife in Baidu to find the latest chapter. Ha ha. Yin Zai laughed out loud. Did that guy run away? No wonder. Compared with staying here to face the questioning of the 5 holy sects, it's better to go back to his hometown to admit his mistake and think about it behind closed doors. The holy sect responded very quickly. Let's go. Li Hai, who had been silent, reminded everyone in a timely manner. If we go, what about Lady Jiuzhou alone? Jiang Run couldn't help but ask. Su Li smiled and said gently, it's not me you should worry about. Follow me and leave. Jiang Run didn't understand, but he didn't speak again. After a while, the spring courtyard was empty, and only the spiritual stone lights dotted around Su Li. After a while of silence in the courtyard, an old figure in a black robe pushed open the door and walked to Su Li. His respectful look was more sincere than that of a year ago. Master, old servant Yi Che is here. Among all living beings, there were only a few people with good intentions. Even practitioners were not immune. Within an hour after the announcement of the Tianjiao list, the number of people in the Immortal Ascension City was reduced by 10%. The departure of this person did not attract much attention. Most of them were still immersed in the excitement of the announcement of the new list. By the time the 4 palaces covered the entire sky, it was already too late for them to leave. That's the temporary imperial palace of Shangtian Shrine. Someone exclaimed, the people of Han Sect, Shunbei Holy Sect, and Shura Holy Sect are all here. Such a big thing happened. They will definitely send someone to investigate, but I don't know who it is. No one dared to touch the taboo of the Immortal Ascension City. The 4 temporary imperial palaces stopped outside the city and then were put away. There were 70 or 80 people in the open space. The 4 figures with extraordinary breaths were recognized at once. Walking on the far left was a skinny man in a green and gray robe. His eyes were cold, and his face was like frost. He was surrounded by frost, like a devil in the ice. This person was the law enforcement elder of Han's sect in Ghost Region, known as Xie. On the right of Xie was the group from the Divine North Sacred Sect. The leader of the group was an ordinary-looking old man. His face was extremely unfamiliar, and no one knew who he was. It was a woman in a red dress, shrouded in a blood-red light. Her face looked as if it had been meticulously carved. Her blood-red hair spread out behind her, and her lips were as red as blood. It's the Azure Saint Sect's vice sect leader, Lady Blood Poison. Lady Blood Poison's infamy was well known among male cultivators, and she was the nightmare of countless people. It was rumored that the number of male cultivators who had died on her bed and been sucked dry by her was enough to form a high-grade sect. There were even sacred sons of other sage sects among them. She was a female cultivator of the evil path through and through. Oh, what day is it today? The Langjuns, who I usually don't see, are all out today. I'm really moved. Blood Poison walked to the man in black in front of the team of Shangtian Shrine. Yuanguang, I haven't seen you for many years. I miss you so much. The black-haired man looked cold. His lips were not thick, and his black hair was loose. There seemed to be charm in his eyes, like an immortal or a demon. He dodged Lady Blood Poison's hand without a trace, completely ignoring her approach. His lips moved, and his voice spread throughout the immortal Ascension City. Where are the elders of Shangtian Shrine? That's Ling Yuanguang of Shangtian Shrine. A knowledgeable cultivator's face changed, and he secretly exclaimed, "He is the holy son of the previous generation of Shangtian Shrine, and now he is the vice ancestral master of Shangtian Shrine. He has a high position, and his strength has reached the stage of nature's test when he retired 2,000 years ago. I'm afraid his strength is even more unfathomable now. Shangtian Shrine actually sent him out. It seems that something really happened to Evil Emperor and the Holy Girl." There was no response for a long time. Ling Yuanguang frowned. The one who came to the immortal Ascension City this time was just an ordinary elder in charge of trivial affairs. It was impossible for him to have the courage to disobey him. The only possibility was that he also had an accident. Seeing this scene, Lady Blood Poison's smile faded slightly, and she also secretly transmitted her voice. "People of Shangtian Shrine, come to see me." What answered her was silence. Han Sexia stood up, sniffed, and frowned. He couldn't smell Zhao Qinyuan's breath. The elder of Divine North Sacred Sect has also disappeared. The elder of Divine North Sacred Sect said in a low voice, and the four of them frowned for a moment. "Why don't we go into the city first and ask the Horizon Master of Taiyanyakin?" Lady Blood Poison said, smiling as if she was out to play, as if she didn't care about Luo Hong's life or death. Ling Yuanguang didn't look at her, and without saying a word, he led his people into the city. Xiahan also had an arrogant attitude and left as he said. In the end, it was the elder of Divine North Sacred Sect who cupped his fists at Lady Blood Poison and then followed. What a group of rude young people. Lady Blood Poison shook her head and chuckled. She floated up and followed closely behind with her people. The door of Taiyanyakin was still open. Ling Yuanguang stepped into the inn, but he didn't see anyone else. Instead, he saw a girl in a black dress who looked to be in her early 20s. She sat behind a shopkeeper's counter, drinking slowly, and looked very uncomfortable. Ling Yuanguang stepped forward and asked coldly, "Junior, is the Horizon Master here?" The girl in the black dress stopped drinking and raised her head. The black lotus mark at the corner of her eyebrows looked extremely mysterious, and her bright eyes flickered with an inexplicable light. "You mean Xie Wei, shopkeeper Xie?" "That's right," Ling Yuanguang responded. He looked around, but found that the Taiyanyakin seemed to have been emptied, and no one was there. He seemed to suddenly think of something, and his expression changed. "You guessed it right. Shopkeeper Xie Wei ran away with Xiao Si. He probably ran back to the hometown of Taiyanyakin to reflect on his mistakes. Those who live here are also smart people, and they have long left, Su Li replied with a smile. She looked at Lady Blood Poison and the others who came in one after another. You guys are really unlucky. Unlucky? Lady Blood Poison walked up to Ling Yuanguang and looked at the girl in the black dress up and down. She smiled coldly. Little girl, do you know who you're talking to? There is no such thing as innocent people who don't know. Of course I know. Su Li's eyes were hazy with drunkenness. She stretched out her hand and pointed at Lady Blood Poison, whose face became more and more unfriendly. You have a stinky smell of blood. You must be from the surest sect. Su Li turned her hand and pointed at Xiahan. You have a more stinky breath of cold poison than him. Are you from the unlucky ghost cold sect? I don't need to look to know that the other two are from the Shunbei Holy Sect and the Shangtian Shrine. As Su Li spoke, everyone's eyes changed, and Su Li's eyes gradually became clear, even with a little playfulness. I say, except for the Shunbei Holy Sect, did the other three holy sects make a mistake? Ling Yuanguang looked serious. He thought quickly and blurted out, You're Su Jiuzhou. The smile on Su Li's face widened, and she suddenly stretched out her hands. As she turned them over, countless tactical matrix lights emerged around her, hiding her figure and leaving her voice in her ears. Yes, I am. You're really late. The surrounding fog gradually rose and shrouded the surroundings. Lady Blood Poison was shocked and immediately sneered. Just a tactical matrix. Break it. She stretched out her hand and grabbed, as if grabbing a transparent net in the air. She pulled it hard, and immediately the sound of cloth tearing came out, and the tactical matrix was broken. Ling Yuanguang only used one sword move, and all the tactical matrix lights dimmed. It took Xiahan some effort, but he still broke the tactical matrix and reappeared in front of Su Li. His face was not very good, but the elder of the Shunbei Holy Sect still did not get out of the tactical matrix. Clap, clap, clap. Su Li clapped her hands. It seems that my cultivation realm of the 11th grade tactical matrix is a little low. Elder Yi, I heard that in your era, it was not the tactical matrix that flourished, but the restriction that was more complicated than the tactical matrix. I suddenly have some interest in it. Who is he talking to? Ling Yuanguang got out of the trap and did not relax his vigilance at all. But in the next moment, he was horrified to find that he actually couldn't move. Which senior? Lady Blood Poison could only move her eyes, and her beautiful face was pale. Before she finished speaking, a bloody palm appeared on her left cheek. You should be beaten for your cheap mouth. Xiahan was the weakest among the four, and he was the most vulnerable. He was directly pressed to the ground by this pressure, and his bones made bursts of sound. As for the other junior disciples, they had already vomited blood and fainted in an instant. Yi Che, dressed in a black robe, appeared beside Su Li out of thin air with a smile. His absolute control crushed the whole audience. The boy hiding in the tactical matrix deliberately avoided it. Do you want to sneak attack the master? Boom! The tactical matrix was broken, and the elder of Shunbei Holy Sect appeared. Under the pressure of Yi Che, he could actually move. He saluted. Tuji of Shunbei Holy Sect pays respect to the senior of Ghost Clan. Immortal Tuji, Ling Yuanguang was shocked. Wasn't one of the grand elders of Shunbei Holy Sect called Immortal Tuji? The grand elder appeared in person. No wonder Su Jiuzhou said that the three sects, except for Shunbei Holy Sect, had already noticed it. Su Jiuzhou, Ling Yuanguang looked dignified. At first, he was only wary of the person behind Su Li, but at this moment, his fear of Su Li skyrocketed. Yi Che stood beside Su Li calmly. Don't tell me your name. Even if you tell me, I won't know who you are. Besides, why you only greet me, but ignore my master? Immortal Tu Ji's expression changed slightly, and he looked at Su Jiuzhou cautiously. Master, this ghost clan was clearly an old monster. How could he recognize a little girl as his master? Even though he felt disdain in his heart, Tu Ji didn't reveal the slightest bit of displeasure on his face. Instead, he chuckled and cupped his fists. Su Jiuzhou, your name has spread all over Qingshui's circle. It can be said that you became famous overnight, and everyone in the world knows you. It was worthy of celebration. Divine North Sacred Sect, 2G. Are you here for Fonglan? Su Jiuzhou looked calm and said in a teasing tone, I can tell you that the holy sons and holy girls of your sect are all guests of an eye sect. If you want your geniuses back, there's only one very simple condition. She put down the wine glass and sat up straight, her burning gaze sweeping over the four of them. Give up your cooperation with the Life Palace and overthrow the Fate Ancestor with me. How about that? Latest chapter address. Toxic wife, poisonous wife on top. Full text toxic wife on top of TXT. The poisonous wife was reading on her phone. To make it easier to read next time, you can click favorites below to record this entry. Condition: read the record. You can see it the next time you open the bookshelf. If you like The Poisonous Wife, please recommend this book to your friends, QQ, blog, WeChat, etc. Thank you for your support. That you're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.